London, come in. This is United States. Are you there? London. Manchester. France. Hello. This is United States calling. Is there anybody left? Wait a second. Hold on. It's not frickin' running. Let's try it again. And the crickets aren't playing. Let's find out. Come on, you can get there. And it's going to crash. Let's just get to it. Fuck. God damn it.
Okay. I'm just...
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy frickin' Saturday. It's that day of the week, down to the hour, minute, and second, that we come together as a community. Yes, with some sound and video problems as well. Welcome to Disclosure Tonight. As we come together to talk about those things that the U.S. government won't, to talk about those things from science fiction, to talk about those things from the X-Files, and more importantly, to talk about those things that sometimes you can go outside and see them above your house, but you got to go out and you got to look up. What the heck are we talking about? Well, we're talking about UFOs. And we still continue to call them UFOs here on Disclosure Tonight because there's a word for it in every single language around the world throughout perpetuity. So leave that to the lawyers. Leave them to try and make their mess, to keep on hiding what the truth is or even defunding what's going on. Now it's a matter of debugging their war against the non-human intelligence. How do we know? If you take a look, everything we see day in, day out, it's all military. None of it's about science. None of it's about exploration. None of it is about peace or moving things forward. No, the United States government wants all of this technology for the weapons of war. And that's why we come together here on Disclosure Tonight many nights a week to go ahead and talk about the facts, what's happening around us, the recent push for disclosure that's coming as a bipartisan issue from both sides of the aisle, coming together as a unified force. Man, we have never seen anything like this. Why? Because we're going ahead and fighting those idiots in the White House, those idiots in the Department of Defense, and trying to find the latest relevant information, whether it be videos from the news, from Twitter, or wherever else we can find the truth and the facts to cover this on Disclosure Tonight. Happy frickin' Saturday, everybody. Yeah, oh God, it's one of those days you're working on the studio trying to get it together. Yes, I've moved the camera back, opened it up, and I can actually lean in and talk to everybody in a little bit more comfort. But, oh my God, what a mess. Welcome. Good to see everybody here. Yes, it's a crazy day ahead of us. Yes, Congress strikes back. It is the number one story of many we'll be covering today on Disclosure Tonight. But before we do that, let's take a look and see who we have in the audience right now. I believe Greg O'Brien is first, followed by Kelly Brill. Thanks for coming in, Kelly. Appreciate you being here today. Yes, Greg was first. Kelly Brill was second. Followed by DC, Sunday morning here in Australia. Hope everyone is enjoying their weekend. Alex Park, hi, mate. It's Alex and Janet from the UK. What a fantastic show. You fantastic man. Love you as well, Alex. Thank you for coming out here today. Who else do we have out there? Lindsay. Welcome, Lindsay. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Who else? Great. Gray Troll. Happy Saturday, Gray Troll. Great to have you here today. If we're at a Strikes Back stage, then the next episode will be the return of the UFOs. Yeah, possibly. It's a title I came up with a while ago, but truthfully, Congress did strike back against the DOD, and it's about fucking time. I can say that. We're beyond the 15-second intro. Grand Strine, what a week. Thank you as always for these broadcasts. Yeah. Woke up with a migraine, second day in a row. Jump out of bed, take my morning meds, and another pile of pills to shut it down. So I've got the sweats, the nausea's passed. I'm here. So if I'm a little bit whatever. You'll understand why. Who else do we have out in the audience today? Greg O'Brien. Well, balls. Greg is in the chat, and he's in the back. We'll be carting him out here shortly, but maybe he'll be carting me out of here shortly. You never know where that is going to go. All right, who else do we have out there? Gray Troll is around, but wait. There's something else I'm seeing in the back. If I can figure out where the hell the button is. The press. We have another breaking news thing coming in just right now. Where is it at? Believe it or not, lo and behold, where is the icon? He's got to be here somewhere. Do I not have here? Oh, there he is. There he is. Gary, quite Quincherry, how does your garden grow?
Hello.
Good to see you back on the show. Wonderful. Thanks for making it for once. Sounds like you could use some coffee, my friend.
No, I don't need coffee. I am high on life.
There you go. I used to get high on drugs, but now I get high on the Lord.
I can't afford cocaine.
Gotta have some fun. No, that's from an old Cheech and Chong video. I've got actually a record that I've got around here somewhere. Tom King, I hate these phones. Trying to deal with the stupid iCloud shit this morning. I got pissed off and started breaking badly. Hate all phones. Well, if you ever need help with that, Tom King, I've been using it since iPhone 1. Actually, before the iPhone, we were on the iPod Touch when it was the predecessor to the iPhone. Very interesting, to say the least. Owen from Ohio. Great news last night covering the sad news about what's going on in Ohio. But, oh, my God, really? That is breaking news. President Carter apparently has passed away. Now, if we take a look back and remember President Carter for the time, President Jimmy Carter, the Peanut Man, as they used to call him, he was a common peanut farmer who worked his way up through government.
He hasn't died yet.
He hasn't? Oh.
No, last news update I saw, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter to receive home hospice care.
Well, that means he's about to die.
I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, no problem. Well, you never know. 3-day weekend, Tom King, absolutely. Good to see everybody tonight as the audience bleeds in. Yes, bit off my game today, but that's okay. We'll get through it. Idiot in the Woods, welcome. Good to see you. You know, at least you don't work at the toll booth between the land of complete idiots and total morons. I've known a couple people who work there. Yeah.
Don't mind us. We're just killing off presidents.
Oh, great troll. I'll check Nolan's interview too, Jan. Yeah, Nolan has some great interviews out there. We'll probably cover a little bit of that. Joseph Syracuse, welcome to the show. Good to have you here. I think this is one of our biggest Saturdays in a while. We're building nicely. Tell you what, we've got 134 people in the audience. 143 people in the audience with only 47 likes. Do us a favor, folks. If you're having a good time, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if not, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. Believe it or not, last night's show, we had a lot of thumbs up. 9 thumbs down. But tell you what, if you're going to be a Karen and give us a thumbs down, Tim Dust, so on, Rob, Shannon, we'll be sure to go and downvote your shows as well. But do us a favor, if you're going to give us a thumbs down, go ahead and at least tell us what we can do down below to make the show more enjoyable. Thank you for coming out, everybody, today. Happy Saturday. Let's see who else we have out in the audience right now. A lot of great conversation. Syrup is here. He is in the chat. He's not in the back, but you never know what's going to go on with that. Terrence, good to see you, Terrence. Strange Light Studios. Hello, all. Walton Blair here again. Good to have you around. I think Blair popped in the back. Need to hear more of her on the show as well. Great perspective also. When there's a good man, there's another woman behind. There's a woman or man behind that man, and it's always a team. And I can see you are a wonderful team. It's wonderful having you both here today.
I always appreciate Scully reading Jose Chung's From Outer Space.
Yes.
Which is the perfect example of what the UFO community is like. So.
There you go. There you go. You know, Lou Elizondo, for example, he would not be where he is today if not for his wife, Jennifer. It's kind of one of those things. You always have to look at the pair and how they complete each other. It's a wonderful story, I tell you. Who else do we have out there in the audience today? Let's take a look. Lori Oliphant, Congress strikes back. The military will say national security, end of tale. Well, they're already saying bullshit to national security, and I have a good feeling that Miss Little Marco Rubio is going to be taking that head on, because he was the one who said out of all of the information that was passed across about what they know about the objects that were flying over the United States, 99% of that information should be released to the public. It just goes and shows you how crooked our government truly is. It's a sad fact, but you know what? We are where we are. Let's take a look and see who else we have out there. Adele and Mark Bromley, good evening, all. Great to see you here. Welcome, Adele and Mark. Thanks for coming around. Shelley Montgomery saying hi to everybody. Welcome. Yes, Cupcake is here, sleeping on the floor next to me. We'll see how she goes. I may have to end the show a bit early if she needs some time, but I've got to do it. She's going to be 19 coming up in about 3 weeks. Holy cow. Rashid, greetings, Earthlings. Good to see you, my friend. Who else is in the audience? Let's take a look. Royal Morning Blue. I tried to do the morning thing, and I lost it. Let's do it again. Come in, London. London, are you there? Manchester. Liverpool, come in, please. Anyone in France? Belgium. Denmark. Netherlands, anybody. Looks like Europe is gone. It's having some fun with it, and it backfired. Oh, and it's not the Air Force, I tell you that. Anyone who says, oh my gosh, the Air Force is hacking my live stream. I've got some loose screws here. I think I found them. They may be yours. Who else is out there in the audience today? Let's take a look and see. TomsRiver.org. Hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Lindsay is around. Good to see you. Mr. Joseph Syracusa. Good to see you, my friend. Love you as well. I love all of the people in the audience. It's so great to be able to share this message with so many people from around the world on Saturday. Heck, that for every day of the week. I think this is our 7th or 8th show in the row. Yeah, I need a break, but we'll get through that eventually. Fiction or fact? Good evening to all. Good to see you, Fiction or fact. Ralph G. is around again. Yes, this is going to be a good one. Strange Light Studios is saying, I truly believe death is not the end for all fur babies out there, including us. Side note, less than 2 minutes before your lovely... 2 minutes before. Well, yeah, before everything blew up. Digger Dog is around. There he is. Good to see you, Digger Dog. Holy cow, we're almost to the bottom here. There's Ralph coming in the back. All right, thanks for coming in again, Ralph. Aubrey McLeod. That reminds me, if anyone has anything to say, feel free to follow that link. How far can I go? There we go. Follow that link at the top of the chat. It's a Google Meet link. It allows up to 100 people to be back there, believe it or not. Look at that, Raz, as the audience builds in the back. This is killer. And remember, if you're going to be in the back, just don't be there to listen in. Be there to participate. Otherwise, watch the show live and we'll poop you out otherwise. Who else is around? Peggy with Crockett and Tubbs, all the way from Florida. Hey, Google, what's the temperature in Florida?
In Miami, it's currently 75 degrees.
Oh, high of 76, low of 71, currently cloudy. Nice day, a lot better than the 43 degrees we have here in the Pacific Northwest. 43 and raining, but I'll take it any day over the hot and humid and days. I'm from the Chicago area originally. Yeah, it all started 30 miles west of Chicago and Addison, Illinois, unincorporated Bloomingdale Township, right by the Medina Country Club, where they've had a lot of World Opens throughout the years. Who else is around today? Freya and Hella. Good to see you. Blessings to you as well. Robert Vargas, yes. 3 of those. Sumatriptan, Norco, and... cyclobenzaprine, used to be called Flexeril, 3 pills. Yeah, it's nothing like getting up in the morning and taking down a muscle relaxer. Wow, man. And I'm still freaking on edge. DC, good to see you, my friend. As we get towards the bottom of the list, holy cow. Electra RC, also known as Zach. Hello, beautiful people. 8 a.m. Sunday morning. Oh, would you look at that? Holy cow. And Lindsay, I think that is everyone. Well, it's not just me right now. We've got some great people in the chat. Fingers crossed it's going to look good. We'll find out in a second. Let's jump across and see. Oh, let's move this a little bit since you're up there. Oh, that's not a nice Mr. Rogers, but I'll take it anyway. Greg O'Brien, how the heck are you, my friend?
Hi, Thomas. Good evening to you, sir. How do you find yourself today?
I'm here. Feeling better.
You and me both.
My body temperature's finally starting to come down. The sweats from the migraine and everything's kicking back. How about you, my friend?
Good, man. I find a cure for the sweats is maybe dipping your balls in a nice chilled glass of milk.
Yes, I've heard that can work. Also, milk mixed with soy sauce.
Oh, yeah. Then you get the taste of salt as well. Yeah, and then the key is you have to actually drink the milk and soy sauce afterwards. That's the
Make sure you shower first, folks. And EW, also name is Yellow Tommy Tanker. How the heck are you, my friend?
Hi, Thomas. Yeah, great. Thanks. So it's good to be back for a UK and Europe friendly show tonight.
Yeah.
And now we've got medical stuff on here as well. Then obviously.
Yeah. Let me get my speakers here turned on a little bit because I'm hearing some of your audio. I can see your audio piping back through mine. Give me 1 second, Andy. I need to find where I have Google Chrome in this long list of applications. Okay, you're taken care of. There you go. Thanks for coming in, Andy. Appreciate you being here. Absolutely.
My pleasure.
What part of the UK are you from again? Which region?
I'm in Bristol. Yeah,
near Bristol. Nice.
Near
Bristol, welcome to have you. Absolutely. And we lost Gary again. There he is. Let's bring him up. There he is. Hey, Gary. All right. Let's see who else we have.
I look up at Andy because he's above me. I'm below him. Just like we are in the pictures here.
Absolutely.
On the map, he is above me. I am below.
Yes. True.
As above, so below. Brits abroad.
Yes. I think so. Let's see who else we have out there. Looks like Greg O'Brien. Greg, how you doing, my friend?
Me?
Oh, yeah, we already said hi to you. Never mind. We're just going down the list. Ralph G. Welcome, Ralph. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay.
Excellent. Good to have you around. Razmataz, you're also here.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I've sent a link to Jeremy Corbell. He just posted something on the Mosul orb. If you can take a look at it.
I can. If it's a video, I can't play it.
It's on the Twitter. It's from the Twitter.
Okay.
Jeremy Corbell.
Where did you post it?
In call messages in that text box.
Oh, there we go. Makes it a bit easier. Copy link address. I'll go ahead and add this to the list of things to go ahead and cover. Oh, that's right. I need to get to Twitter. Crypto Mike finally woke up. Mike, how the heck are you, my friend? Welcome to the show. He's there, but he's silent. Oh.
Sorry, the damn mute button was on. It pops on automatically when I join. Sorry about that.
Oh, I know. Hey, I've been fighting with all that this morning. I understand where you're at. Appreciate you coming in yet again today. Walt and Blair. How you doing, Walt? How you doing, you two?
We're doing good. We're making progress on our project, so that's really nice. So it's been a busy day, but it's a good day.
Yeah, we're excited about the upcoming conversations that we're about to partake in.
Excellent. Always great to partake. And also, finally, we have, believe it or not, we've got Mr. W. Decker. West, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm just really excited about the debut of Greg O'Brien's new book, Miracle Cure Balls in Milk.
I'll send you a signed copy, my friend.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to seeing where that's going to lead to. You never know what happens in the back room when the doors are closed. I need to pull this over so I don't see. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to deal with the little chat bubbles popping up every so often when people are communicating in the back. All right. Let's go ahead and move on with this. All right. Now that we've got the back, we've got the chat. Everyone is set to go. Our first thing we're going to be covering tonight is an interesting story that came to us from across the Twitter sphere. I had one here. In a breaking story coming from Congress, if I jump back into, let's go across into, now we'll stay in here, what the heck. The new chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Michael Turner, has set up a new arrangement of subcommittees. One of the things that we've been dealing with is that, as we broke on last night's episode, AARO, which is the All Anomaly Resolution Office, headed up by Senator Michael Fitzpatrick, or is it Patrick Fitzmichael? It's Mr. Kirkpatrick, that's right. Is there. They have an office. He's got 2 people working for him. However, they have no funding. So we've all asked the question, where has the government been? Why haven't they gone ahead? Why hasn't AARO been on the scene investigating these UFO sightings, including the ones we just saw in Pennsylvania that happened a couple days after everything? It just seems like those have fallen off the radar. Well, the main reason is, folks, is they don't have any funding. Yes, that's right. No funding whatsoever. So we went through the whole bipartisan move to go ahead and get this revolutionary, groundbreaking, historical laws put in place to bring forward disclosure, to look back all the way back to January 1st, 1945, to bring out all of the misinformation, disinformation, lies, and reverse engineering programs, and all that information was to be collected and brought forward to Congress and in turn to the United States, to the people in the United States. We're also supposed to be having some hearings from whistleblowers. We have to have AARO investigating from whistleblowers. But the thing is, if you don't have any money, you're not going to be able to do anything, and that's just the sad part of the fact. So, what has the DoD been up to? Preventing disclosure once again. I am not surprised. West?
Well, I just wanted to, I agree. It's pretty typical. It seems like the DoD figures out ways to interfere, but there is reporting that AARO has not been idle. In fact, Robert Salas, who's famous for having brought to the world the news that these UFOs had shut down our nukes at different times. He received a thank you letter that he posted on Twitter. He's testified before AARO now, and he's also brought several more witnesses to their attention that have also testified. So they are getting some of this testimony done, and it sounded like they were very impressed with the testimony.
Right. But remember, there's that system that's supposed to be put in place that they've estimated the cost for at least of $30 million. That didn't happen. All the funding they were supposed to have.
That would be helpful, huh?
Yeah, it would be helpful to have a budget, wouldn't it? Remember, according to the legislation, they're supposed to have whatever funding is necessary to complete the mission as defined in the NDAA and IAA 2022 and 2023. Mr. Moultrie, what are you guys doing? Why are you keeping us from actually getting the truth? It just does. Well, you know what? They've been playing this game of hide the salami for over 75 years, 77 years. And it looks like there's still, whatever they have in their playbook, it's going to continue to be played. And we have to keep a doubly close eye on what's going on. More importantly, an eyes to the sky, because that balloon that was initially seen up in, is it Alaska, the first place? The first place they saw the Chinese balloon was coming over the Aleutian Islands from our military had seen it. Then some citizens in in Alaska last week, if you remember, reported seeing it. Before you know it, it's going across the United States. Well, lo and behold, the U.S. government had known about that balloon from the time it actually launched in China. And they know exactly where it launched from. So it's a slippery slope of, we're not going to tell you everything unless you ask us the question, and then we're still going to lie and not tell you the truth because, well, we don't have to tell you the truth. And that's why in 1947, if you remember, when the National Security Act was put in place, we no longer were the United States of America. While in name we are, but realistically we live in a national security state. It sounds kind of like a big brother place where they can do whatever they want, avoid the laws, go ahead and appropriate any money they need without any oversight from Congress or the American people. It's a crime. And we're going to figure out what's been going on. And those who are accountable and still involved with this and still covering stuff up, I can't wait, and I hope they go to jail now. I've brought up before, and I've said, we need to have something stronger than a church committee. Maybe we need to take it up to McCarthyism. Granted, McCarthyism was a lot stronger. There was some intimidation potentially going on of the government, but there needs to be a deep dive into the DOD, which is truly the foundational piece of the deep state that so many politicians have talked about. We've all wondered, what the hell is he talking about? A deep state. This is exactly what it is. There is a sub-government going out there who is making the calls on a regular basis when it comes to UFOs and the intelligence. Now, getting back to this particular story, it appears that the operations of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, also known as AARO, was moved. It's no longer reporting to the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and to Avril Haines. It will now fall within the oversight purview of the Defense and Intelligence Overhead Architecture Subcommittee, chaired by Trent Kelly, a Republican from Minnesota, with Representative Chrissy Houlihan, hot lips, who's a Democrat from Pennsylvania, as ranking minority member. Here's the clue, Chrissy. We need to get you to look at the video of what was flying over your state on the 15th, and you need to crank it up, put the pressure on, and find out what is truly going on in our skies. Well, they tried to take some of this stuff and say, it's all balloons. Well, every single politician on both sides of the aisle are saying, if it is balloons either way, we want to know everything. We're tired of the cover-up. We want to see the information. We would need transparency. And I think there is enough momentum at this time to do to bring forward everything that we need to make this happen. Now, if you remember, Representative Andre Carson, the Democrat from Indiana, who chaired the May 7th, 2022 hearing on unidentified aerial phenomena, I think that's like the first hearing we've had on UFOs in well over 50 years, is now the ranking minority member of the CIA subcommittee, which is chaired by Representative Rick Crawford, Republican from, that's not Arizona, Arkansas. There we go. The other listed subcommittees are the National Intelligence Enterprise Subcommittee, chaired by Representative Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, and the National Security Agency and Cyber Subcommittee, chaired by Darren LaHood. The ranking members of these two parties are, okay, we've got a couple people. Let's go ahead and bring up, just to give you an idea of the names and what we've been talking about. Let's bring this up if I can find OBS and the right thing to go ahead and press. Let's jump across to the desktop. Fingers crossed. And take a look. West off to the side. There we go. I'm missing disclosure tonight, but that's okay. We'll get it there. What the hell? Disclosure tonight logo. Give me a second. It's almost there. Almost there. There we go. Now we're set. All right. The Defense Intelligence and Overhead Architecture, it offers legislative and oversight responsibilities, shall include programs, policies, and budget operations, and intelligence-related activities of the Department of Defense, including the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, Ron Moultrie, and intelligence components of the military services, including the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and Space Force. All activities funded by the Military Intelligence Program. This includes AARO. All matters related to the defense intelligence enterprise and the collection, exploitation, and dissemination of acoustic intelligence, geospatial intelligence, imagery intelligence, and measures and signals intelligence now fall underneath this committee. So now we've got people in place to go ahead and actually have a tighter control and a tighter grip over what we're seeing coming out of Washington, D.C., which is still a pretty good cover-up, sadly to say the least. We mentioned before we had the Central Intelligence Agency, who is now being chaired, the committee on that, coming from Rick Crawford. We've got the National Intelligence Enterprise by Brian Fitzpatrick, and we have the National Security Agents and Cyber Committee. You know, we have a lot of people in Washington, D.C. trying to keep an eye on where we're at and where this is all going to be moving to. Mike, I think you had some additional insight this we talked about the other day as well.
Yeah, I have a quick question for you, though. Now that they've changed the responsibilities of AARO, it sounds to me like it's still being overseen by the Pentagon, Department of Defense. So what really changed?
I believe what changed is, if I can find the bookmark here, there is an interesting letter that came out. I guess it's changed from the point of who is overseeing this, and the people who are tightly controlling what's going on. As we brought out the other day, funding for AARO is not there. So you have currently Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Marco Rubio heading up support to go ahead and bring this to light. So I guess it's basically saying who is overseeing the operations of AARO and where the rubber hits the road.
Thomas, I can kind of clarify a little bit further if you want.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, basically what's changed is the committees in the House of Representatives. The oversight committees have changed. The Senate side is not changed to my awareness, but this is just for the House of Representatives. And since the power changed from the Democrats to the Republicans rejiggered the committees. So that's what we're seing here.
Interesting.
But Wes, let me ask you this. Will it affect the funding being cut by the Department of Defense to AARO by having a different Republican committee overseeing it? Or do they still hold the purse strings, the Pentagon?
It sounds like, yeah, from the side of how this is all structured on the Pentagon and OVNI side, it's all the same as it was. What changed was just the oversight committees in Congress. Now, what we saw yesterday also was, I think the Senate is more in charge of funding. And the Senate, we had 16 senators, bipartisan senators, come out with a letter requesting that the Pentagon ask for more money for AARO, because basically what was happening is the Pentagon just wasn't asking for any money for them. So they were kind of starving them.
Well, listen, from what I remember of the NDAA for 2023, AARO was specifically addressed in that in the NDAA, and they were supposed to have unlimited funding to deal with the program.
Right. Yeah, but the thing is that you can have unlimited funding, but unless someone on the Pentagon side actually puts in a budget request, then no funding will be allocated. And that's what those senators were writing to Pentagon about and saying, hey, we've given you permission to ask us for money. Why aren't you asking us for money?
Yeah, because they have no intention on doing that.
Right.
This goes back to the discussion Thomas and I had yesterday. They did this from the 1950s with Blue Book. They had 3 people in there and they had practically no funding at all. They're doing the same thing now, almost 80 years later, and nothing is going to change. What would force the DOD to actually fund AARO at this point?
Well, those senators actively taking notice and saying, hey, ask us for money. We are telling you this is important.
Yeah, but what would force the DOD to ask the money? To ask for it?
The president.
Well, the president, and you also have the subcommittees who are over these, and they can go ahead and, you know what? They can start pulling in their area of responsibility into hearings and demand answers.
Yeah, that's the other. I mean, basically, you got to call people to account and say, we funded this. Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? And when they wrote the current NDAA, they didn't put any leverage in it. They didn't put any bite in it. Just bark.
There's no teeth. There's no bite. There's no enforcement. There's no penalties for them not going ahead and going down that, right, Mike?
Oh, 100%. That's why do you think the ODNI held the last UAP report for almost 3 months? Because they had nothing to fear. They didn't give a shit. Doesn't matter how many people were saying, where is this report? They had no answer, and they weren't going to.
But crypto, that interagency has taken over. This interagency that was mentioned by Kirby. Remember, he said, what is this group? Where does it come from? What is it? Is it funded? Is it taking over AARO? What is it? This interagency that he mentioned? It's formed to take over, to find these 3
Well, this is to take over. These
are
are some people who are brought forward for an investigation of what's going on with regards to the phenomena in our skies and our radars. Raz, please don't overtalk people. This takes down the opportunity of what's going on for the actual. Oh God, now I lost my train of thought. It takes down our opportunity for the data to be able to be disseminated, understood, and move forward. So there was a lack. I would say, if anything, the reason we have the interagency is there's a funding problem. B, there may be a lack of trust going on between the White House and the DOD. Now, while the DOD reports directly under the president in the executive branch, that's why they call him the commander in chief. It sounds like we have some rogue operations coming from the Air Force, and that's what the word on the street is, that the U.S. Navy came forward and spoke with the White House with regards to what's going on, the information they're aware of, and what the Air Force is doing and why this isn't happening. Now, remember, Air Force also includes Space Force. It also includes NASIC, which is all tied together with AARO. So there's a big spin going on. And while we have AARO and there's a lot of great opportunity there for them to do debunking, remember, we had the head of AARO, what do you call it, Mr.
Fitzpatrick.
Kirkpatrick. I was going to call him Fitzpatrick again.
Mr. You always call it Fitzpatrick.
I know. Got to have some phone. Mr. Kirkpatrick drove 3.5 or 4.5 hours to go visit Avi Loeb to have a conversation on his porch. And coming out of that was a paper that didn't have an ounce of weight to it from Avi Loeb going to go ahead and debunk everything that we're hearing coming out of Ukraine with regards to the UFOs that have been sighted there. Now, after that initial debunking that's gone on, there have been subsequent papers coming out from the scientists in the it's the
Ukraine.
It's the National Academy of Sciences, Ukraine, in their astronomy area, basically going and giving a good old middle finger to Avi and to the other doubters along the lines of Mr. McWest.
Yeah, so it seems like one part of the government is bending over backwards to prevent any progress whatsoever from coming out to the public. And when another country, like you just mentioned about Ukraine, is coming forward with information, they're going out of their way to debunk it. So this is something I don't see a direct answer to solve this problem.
Mike.
And yeah.
You hit the nail. Oh man, yeah, you just said it, Mike. You hit the nail on the head a while back by saying, it's the same thing again. We're seeing the same thing as Project Blue Book. They had 3 hands. These people have 2 hands or 4 hands rather. And
no money,
outside
right.
outside of individual individual themselves, outside of them actually having material or getting, working technology, I think the only thing we can do to answer that question is critical mass. I think we need critical mass, and we just don't have it. I don't even think we're close to having critical mass knowing about this subject.
The problem is shifting a couple of subcommittees isn't really going to be an effective answer to this. And as far as the president coming up with that second agency that he wants to put together,
it's not even an agency. It's more like individuals who are being put together. I'm not, where they're actually going on and doing an investigation on behest of the executive branch. Think about this. When I had a video game company for a while, we had quality assurance who looked at the quality, ensured that the games actually played and there weren't any bugs. But we also had a department called gameplay assurance. Well, this was something beyond QA, above QA, reported directly to me as the CEO, and had a direct tie into everything that was going on in the company to ensure that the level and quality of gameplay was being maintained. And I'm seeing that same kind of a thing going on right now with the UFO situation in the White House.
I guess in short, let's just take the government out of the equation altogether.
Potentially. Mike, you were saying there?
Yeah, what I was going to say, Thomas, is do you feel that what they're trying to do with this group and with AARO, that they're trying to come forward with disclosure or to prevent it? They're stopping it. They're going out of their way to prevent any information from coming forward.
Right.
And it seems like that's coming all the way up from the top, from the executive branch.
Right, because if you look at for the longest time, we had the UFO report that didn't come out. And the person who was in charge of that UFO report being disseminated and letting us know what was going on was Avril Haines, who was getting the information from, not Ron Moultrie, from the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. And those two were at, if you want to call it the responsibilities, but who's above both of them? Who do they both report to? The President of the United States. So that brings in a tight question. Has the White House been going and literally pulling back and trying to make sure the information isn't going to get out? The United States people hasn't had any updates. And honestly, even on these incursions of the United States, we haven't heard one word going on from Avril Haines. Now, if I bring this up for a second, we talked about those two objects that were seen over the Yukon and that were supposedly shot down. Well, I have to call into question and ask, were they truly shot down? Because we've got a video from Pennsylvania and a news report that shows those two objects moving around the skies of Pennsylvania. So where is the truth? Where are we at? Did those really get shot down? If so, show us the videos. Show us the signals intelligence. Show us the information that says these craft that we're seeing a couple days later in Pennsylvania aren't the same thing. Ralph, your hand's up.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I look at it from a different view in a sense that I really believe it's going to take other countries to cause the United States to admit what they truly know. I mean, you can look at, throughout U.S. history, different incidents. I mean, you can look at something fairly recent like the Civil Rights Movement. When the U.S. changed a lot of its laws and ways, it wasn't because the United States said, oh, sure, we'll do it. We're wrong. They were called out by the UK and a bunch of other countries and pressured into changing certain things around. So I don't think we're going to be able to do it just as Americans on our own.
Well, that is true.
Countries force it.
I am aware of other countries on the opposite side of the world that are moving forward with disclosure. They're moving forward with putting together programs on a civilian basis for science and humanities and a religious basis and from a government perspective, because as this information of what the United States and other governments know, they don't want to have the people of their countries literally fall behind in what's going on, be left behind, and then have their society, their religions, and everything come in to risk. Andy?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get much of a push from the UK, unfortunately, with bringing this forward. It's all closed. It's even more silent than America. You know, you've had this big thing happening over there this week, which has pushed the UFO story
right.
and our subject right to the forefront of the American news. In this country, we had it on the news for a couple of days. Definitely silence again now. I think, unfortunately, the UK is not going to be much of a help.
I agree with you completely. Now, here's the thing. If we look back, what the one place that could get some momentum going from the countries around the world to work in a unified manner is the United Nations. The last time we had something brought up with regards to having a UN-level investigation of the phenomena, turn the clocks back, and was in 1978. And one of the senior members of the committee who had the opportunity to bring this forward was the United Kingdom, who vetoed the resolution and said, no, we're not going to cover it. So at that point, it was ditched and it never happened. So, Andy, you were preaching to the choir on that one. And let's just hope that what's going on with the United Kingdom, with the rapid change of your prime ministers and the government reorganizing, that maybe we'll see a change. But still, it's not really high on the list. Before I get too far away from this, I want to quickly thank. Where's that at? We had some super chats come in from our audience that I missed, and I want to thank them for the super chats, because remember, every dollar that comes in a super chat on Disclosure tonight goes back to our into our production. So we're very humbled and very humbled by everyone's love and support for Disclosure tonight. And more importantly, I want to thank Firefly saying, hi, Thomas, love your shows. Just Phil, hit that like button, everyone. Yes, remember, if you're having a good time, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. And if you're not having a good time, go ahead and give us a thumbs down. And don't be like the other Karens out there. Please go ahead and give us some feedback. Tell us what we could do better to up our game and make the show enjoyable. And more importantly, as we go ahead and the show grows. We are working to get to, what do you call that? 6,000 subs at this point. And where are we at right now? Let me go ahead and take a look and see. I'll bring up the numbers. Please go ahead and subscribe to the show and give us our thumbs up and thumbs down. That shows interactivity coming from YouTube. Currently, we are at, let's take it up and bring it up and see where we're at on the show here. I believe, where is that? We are currently at 5,469. Just 31 away from 5,500. Help us get there today, folks. Let's see if we can do that before that show is over, before our show today is over. Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody for coming out and being a part of the chat, the show, and everything that we try to do here on Disclosure tonight. Mike, you were saying something.
Yeah, Thomas, I wanted to let you know that Notaciro in the back has had his hand raised up for a while.
Okay. Mike, why don't you handle that and take care of him?
I'll take care of it. Yeah, go, Thomas.
Cupcake just woke up from her nap. And I need to go ahead and take her out front so she doesn't make a mess in the studio. I'll be right back.
Here. I'll take care of it.
Take it, Mike.
All right, Notaciro, you can come forward. What do you have to say?
Okay, I want to say something to you guys. I'm from my English. Wait. My English kind of bad. How you guys doing? I'm Spanish. I'm Cuban. I do some investigation. I got something to show you guys. In 2023, in February, something's going on. My English kind of bad, but I'm gonna get better. I'm kind of nervous. I want to show you a screenshot. The investigation I'm doing. I found out the phenomenon is going on around the world. I want to do the screenshot. I want to talk about. Let me do the screenshot. Okay, the screenshot.
Screenshot, yeah. Are you picking up what he's saying, Mike? There's a little bit of a language difference here.
There's a language barrier, and there's also got some echo coming from him.
He wants to show us a screenshot. He wants to show us a screenshot real quick.
If he sends us a link to it, we can go ahead and show it. If not, if he goes ahead and shows it, he can go ahead and show it, but you're going to see a smaller version of it. Go ahead.
Okay, let me do it. Wait, let me look at that one here. What I need to do.
Yes.
Put it in the chat, okay, bud? You know.
Okay. Why you do the screenshot here?
No, you can just go ahead and share your screen. You can share a window and everything else.
I can share the window to my Twitter because I want to show you guys what the investigation I'm doing.
That, or send us the link if it's on Twitter. We can go ahead and bring it up.
Okay. Let me show you. What press? I send you the link. What press I need to go to send you the link?
If you send it, you can send it in the chat and we can bring it up.
Okay, this is my Twitter account.
Sure.
Okay. Where's this chat? Right here?
Yeah, it's right in the bottom. Someplace we'll get to that. Why don't you get that together and we'll. There it is. Hold on. Let me copy that link really quick. Let me cross my finger. Give me a second. Hold on. Just wait. Hold on. I know we've got some stuff going on here. We will get it right up and cross my fingers. It's something nice. Let's go ahead and paste this in. And let's go ahead and see it. Where on your Twitter account are you trying to show? Are you trying to show the pyramid?
No, I want it's 10 videos or 12 videos showing the activity in 2023 by the aliens.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll dig into this in a second. I'll bring it right back to you after I get Cupcake, who I need to take out front, and we'll pick that up in a second. Mike, why don't you continue on with the conversation?
Yeah, no problem, Thomas. All right, so Ralph, I see you've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead. Ralph? Okay. Raz, your hand is up. Go ahead. What's on your mind? Raz, can you hear me?
No, porque tú eres con una persona.
Yeah, okay. So I just heard that has been briefed.
No, hold on, Raz, hold on a second. Hola, Notaciro.
Oh, God.
Put the mute on. Mute. Notaciro. Hola. Hello. All right.
It'll be all right.
Go ahead, Raz.
Yeah, I'm just saying Rishi Sunak has just been briefed from intelligence, British intelligence, on the 3 downed objects in the US. So he knows the situation, but I think he's completely ignorant, you know, his background and everything. He's extremely conservative, so he's not going to get into this this kind of...
Me está persiguiendo Calillo.
Not the sit alto.
Yeah.
Put
So the
mute
subject
on.
is not for him.
Put your mute on right now. All right, sorry about that, Raz. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just mentioning that he's not the kind of cultural, his background, this prime minister of ours. I think he's open-minded because of you know, I think he's got a Hindu background, Hinduism. So I think he's open to it. But what does anyone else know what our prime minister from the UK is like with this subject? Do you know his background? Anyone else know?
Well, I'm assuming unless it went to Oxford, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
No, Gary, you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I understand from Andy, the UK has not been pushing this subject forward at all. The United States has been making sure that they're not coming forward with any information. And so far, that's how it's been working.
Yeah,
what do you
we've
think,
been
Gary?
debunking everything, actually. That's our country for you.
Yeah,
That's what it is. So, Andy, go ahead. You can follow up with that.
Yeah, I think because nothing's happened in this country. Obviously, this recent the shooting down of the objects that's happened in America. It's like with all news in this country, unless it's the same probably in America. You've got your news. You might sometimes show a bit about United Kingdom or elsewhere. Once that news story is passed after a couple of days, they move on, and that's exactly what's happened in this country. They were covering, I think, on most of the news, BBC and the Sky, which are our 2 main news services in this country. But once it had all died down, that's it. It's gone back to deathly silence again.
Andy, didn't you say that there was a journalist in the UK named Tom Rogan who was pushing on the subject?
No, that was somebody else mentioned that in I think that was on Thursday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we've got a few. We've got Nick Redfern's quite a prominent UFO researcher. There's not that many. We had a guy called Tim Good many years ago, but he seems to have gone quiet. He wrote quite a few books on the subject. But
Andy, how did the Calvine photo come out? Who was in charge of that investigation?
I don't know. Yeah, Calvine. Yeah, I don't know how that came out, to be honest.
I think that was through the guys at Disclosure Team with Vinny, and they may have tracked down some of the people who brought it up, and I know they were able to find one of the guys who had possession of one of the original photos, so I know that's kind of how it came out. We'll have to dig into that to find, to get a stronger answer on that. But I know that does come to us from the Disclosure Team.
It was Christopher Sharp.
Yeah, Christopher Sharp as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And Nick Pope, of course. Don't forget him.
Oh, Nick Pope is the man who would come to the opening of an envelope. He was involved with it back in the day, but the truth of the matter is, when the photo came out and anything, he couldn't or wouldn't say anything about the authenticity of the photo. Yet supposedly he had a copy of this hanging on the wall in his office
for 35 years.
For a long time.
I think what you need to remember as well, if a Calvine photo was taken at Calvin, if anybody out there can Google Earth it, there's no massive bodies of water with an island in the middle of it near Calvine. Now, this photo could have been taken anywhere. I know it's one.
Yeah, but you're not that far from Europe. You're not that far from Spain. You're not that far from areas in the Atlantic where the stuff is. So we know the stuff does come from the ocean and has a provenance to being in the ocean. But the thing is, there are a lot of objects that are up in space, in orbit, that are potentially coming from the moon and other places that are entering and leaving our atmosphere on a regular basis. This comes to us from the information that's there from the Space Force that, again, information that could be shared with the American people, probably 99% of it could be brought forward. But again, our government is in a lockdown, keeping us away from the truth as much as they can.
Yeah, Thomas.
Certainly,
Greg O'Brien's had his hand up for a while. So after Andy, let him talk.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I was
Andy.
just gonna. Sorry, I was just gonna follow off that as well. Yeah. Again, we don't have any deep water. I think the nearest deep water off the coast of the south of England is about 200 miles. So
How far are you from Scotland from Loch Ness?
I'm
Quite away.
I'm about probably 7 hours drive.
Well, how many miles?
Oh, I'd say about 500 off the top of my
That's
head.
not that far. For crafts that are moving at 14, 20, 50,000 miles per hour, they're there in a second. So water is part of it, but it's not all of it. Remember, United States, coast to coast, we see stuff far inland from the water as well. So it's not just like it's objects that are there. That's one of the pieces, but it's not all of it.
Yeah, I think with Loch Ness, to be honest, we've got all the history with the monster up there. It's a very deep, but it's literally why it's so deep is because it's in between two mountains. So it basically goes down to there might be a very small plateau at the bottom of it, but it goes down very deep, very quickly, and it ends quickly as well. It just flattens off. I don't think Loch Ness has anything to do with UFOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the deep water, yes, we get stuff. I've seen stuff, and there is stuff coming in from space. I think for us, it's more likely to be coming down from space.
Yeah, possibly. I've got a video to go ahead and bring up here. Let me see if I can find this one. Believe it or not, the Pentagon was aware of, they were warned of UFOs are a threat weeks before the China balloon incident took place. If I go ahead and bring up this video right now, let's go ahead and do it. And I also want to know this, Noticiero Extremo. We can bring up your stuff, but please, we are going down a particular path for the show. We can bring up stuff that's kind of going down in a different area later in the show, but I don't want to derail stuff as we're going through it. I know, Noticiero, you do have one of your videos. I can bring up that one first for a second here. Let me go ahead and switch out OBS. And trust me, this is not easy just for me to click and bring stuff up. There's a lot of work for me to get all this together. So let me bring this in. If I bring up the desktop Zoom, we've got a video that's one of the ones you have up there. And one of the ones you're showing, this is actually a video showing something going on from space. Okay, and someone else has kids in the background. And if you're not talking, if you can mute, please. Thanks. All right, there you go. You can see we've got objects that are moving in different directions. You have ones that could be regular satellites that are going along the view, and you have ones that are moving up out of the view. Definitely not craft from this world, potentially, if they're going up and leaving our atmosphere versus things that are just going and orbiting the planet. So I don't know of any current space efforts that are going on where we have multiple craft that are going into deep space or going towards the moon. It doesn't exist. Thank you for sharing this clip on that note. Let me bring up this little news briefing to go ahead and show about how the United States government was warned weeks before the incident took place. There we go. Let's play this now. Here we go.
The Daily Mail says that weeks before those 3 flying objects were shot down, the Pentagon warned that UFOs were an immediate threat to the safety of U.S. citizens, end quote. Josh Boswell is with the Daily...
Hey, Noticiero, can you do me a favor? Can you please mute your connection when you're not talking? You've got a lot of noise in the background.
Can you mute him at all, Thomas?
Yeah, you need to mute him, Thomas.
I will. I've already asked, and I know it can be a little difficult for some people to figure it out. Let me get this in here. Oh, he's muted now. Perfect. Here we go. Let's play this. Go back to the start again.
The Daily Mail says that weeks before those 3 flying objects were shot down, the Pentagon warned that UFOs were an immediate threat to the safety of U.S. citizens, end quote. Josh Boswell is with the Daily Mail. This is his report. And
that is Clark Kent, and I refuse to believe otherwise.
So the line is that UFOs represent a threat to the citizens of the United States. That's what he said, right? I believe
That's
so.
exactly what he said.
Yeah.
That UFOs are a threat and therefore real?
Yeah, and we have to be careful about what we mean when we say UFOs. Of course, immediately people tend to think flying saucers, that kind of thing. What they mean when they're talking about UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, it's the kind of government speak for it, or UFOs as we know them, is just anything that's in the skies, in the water, in space that's unidentified. And the Pentagon has already
I need to stop
admitted
this, pause it
that
for a second. No, there's been clarification on that. If it's in the sky and it's not a UFO, they call them unidentified anomalous, UAO, right? Unidentified anomalous object. So again, we have so many different words that the government uses to continue on with their cover-up. Let's continue.
It's like they changed the acronyms for this, like on a daily basis.
things are there that they're investigating them.
And let's continue on. Here we go.
They've even set up an office in the Pentagon to investigate all these incidents. It's called AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And this particular presentation slide deck, which I got a copy of, is by the director of that office. And he's warning in this presentation, look, we've got all these things flying around. We need to investigate what they are. We need the help of commercial pilots to report them and figure out what's going on.
Well, that implies that there's something wrong with our interception radar that guards our frontiers to see what's coming on. If we don't know what they are, there's something wrong with our system, right?
Right, and I'll answer that one really quick. This is information that may have, hopefully it'll cover it. The reason our systems aren't showing it is because our government has knowingly, that's the legal word here today, folks, knowingly installed filters to keep any objects out of the view of any of our people in the Air Force, in the Navy, in the our FAA as well. And I'm sure it's not just in the United States, but the systems around the world, because the U.S. has a lot of money that they spend to leverage people around the world to go ahead and filter this out. So that they're there. Remember in 1952, when we had the UFOs that were flying over Washington, D.C., all the people were seeing that in the radar, but it wasn't too long after that all of a sudden the radars weren't showing the data anymore. Again, fine-tune the signals that are coming in to go ahead and filter out. So they're seeing an accurate representation of part of the data. And that, to me, sounds like a crime that needs to be investigated and prosecuted.
Yeah, that's right. And, the kinds of incidents that we're talking about run the whole gamut of little, weather balloons set up by hobbyists, like you were just talking about in that report there, all the way through to incredible, tic-tac shaped objects that are moving at thousands of miles per hour, reported by Navy pilots, moving in ways that we don't understand, that we certainly don't have the technology for ourselves, and extremely concerning. AARO, this government office, is investigating all of them. And, what you've seen in the past few days, few weeks from these incidents is that NORAD has admitted they weren't tracking things like this on radar, and they've had to readjust the filters that they use to try and pick out things like balloons, spy balloons potentially, and other objects that are in the air that previously just got swept under the rug, just got ignored.
Well, that's a good way to put it. When someone sweeps something under the rug, guys, Mike, isn't that an act of someone going ahead and knowingly trying to hide stuff from people to make it look better than it really is?
It's either to make it look better than it really is, or it's to cover something up that they don't want anyone else to know about. And it keeps going back to the executive branch because it ties into China. And this is a gap in security, national security reconnaissance, not just for the 3 objects that were recently shot down, but this has already been going back years and years and years, which is what Senator Kennedy said. Nothing new.
Yeah.
This is a problem and a specific gap that wasn't an accidental oversight. It's something that was in place specifically to keep the information from being known.
Right. Let me see if I can find that one here. John Kennedy, the cow is out of the barn. I know, let's finish off. Well, this one's almost done, and I want to bring up Senator John Kennedy's description about this. So let's watch this one and then jump across back to a video from earlier this week coming from Senator John Kennedy when he was coming directly out of the secure briefing. He was not happy at all.
This is something that AARO should be looking at, and something that senators, congresspeople have been calling the government out on for years now to look further into and not just ignore as kind of crazy UFO kookery.
Crazy UFO kookery. Good expression. Josh Boswell, Daily Mail. Thanks very much for joining us, Josh. Always appreciated. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You got it.
All right, we've got that one. I'm trying to find the video here. Let's see if I can just go to the channel and find it there. Give me a second, folks. I'll bring this next one up. I thought I had it right here. 1 second. Let me get to the channel really quick. YouTube, your channel. Give me a second, folks. It's almost there. Videos. Let's find it. The one with the black bars. Here we go. I got the video. I need to bring that over to Safari so we can all hear it. Yeah, when you're doing a production style setup, it's like running a studio, like a TV studio with one person. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and watch this video of Senator John Kennedy again, coming directly out of a classified briefing about the phenomena. Let's see what he has to say. Yes?
Thomas, is this the lock your doors bit?
Yes.
He claimed afterwards, mind you, that it was a joke.
Oh, he said it in other places. We'll say that he was a joke, but we can talk about that in a bit.
Okey-dokey.
Pop the balloon.
I'm gonna go pee.
Yeah.
Lost. They can't find them. The remnants are in very difficult terrain, low temperatures, lots of inclement weather, and they're looking, but they haven't been able to find them, except for these spy balloons.
When you say there's been many,
address the nation.
Well, I think that given where we are and the impression that this is some sort of circumstances that's happened in the last couple of weeks, I think at a minimum our director of national intelligence should go in front of the American people and explain what we know, what we don't know, without divulging any classified information. But it's clear to me this is not a recent phenomenon.
then why do you think the administration waited until now to start bringing this to light?
I don't
If this
know.
has been happening.
I don't know.
Roger Marshall said he feels it's like a fear mongering. It's intentional fear mongering.
I don't know. I just know that going into the last two hearings, I had the impression that this was something that had happened over the last 2 weeks, and that's not accurate. This has been going on a long time.
Do they give an explanation as to why they're shooting them down now? Why
Nope,
they're deciding?
they did not.
Yeah, some are saying that it's a wagging of the dog to improve approval ratings.
I don't care to speculate on that. I just know that we need some more transparency. I understand the need for national security secrets, but now that this cow is out of the barn, the president and the director of national intelligence needs to address it. They need to explain to the American people, if they know, and I'm not sure they know, if they know they're not telling us, what these things are, who put them up there, and do they pose a threat to the American people? And if the answer is no, how do they know that?
What's your assessment? Do you feel like there's a threat? Learning what you've just learned, do you feel like the threat level is low or not or high?
The only thing I feel confident saying right now is that if you are confused, you understand the situation perfectly.
A terrestrial question. What do you think about Nikki Haley announcing that she wants to be the nominee of your party for president?
I think that competition makes all of us better. And I also think, here's my prediction on the presidential election. The experts will be wrong.
Even if you can't tell us what it is, can you tell us whether they have informed you as to the balloon's ability to intercept communications, whether it be radio communications or telecommunications?
Well, this is public information. The administration has said that somehow our military and our intelligence community were able to jam the communications of the spy balloon in terms of it being able to relay information to other third parties, including but not limited to China. I've read that in the paper, but I haven't heard them say that.
But just that one balloon, or all of the objects have this ability?
Just that one balloon. Let me emphasize. Let me say it again. This has been going on for a long time. We know some of the objects. Others we think we probably missed, and we don't know what most of them are.
Senator, do you feel
So
you
bottom
learned
line, you're
anything?
kind of walking away from this thing, still having a lot of questions.
Yes. Yes. We have unity in confusion. Thanks, guys.
Did you learn anything significant beyond what's been reported in the news, do you feel?
Yeah, I learned a little bit. I can't talk about all of it, but what I took away from the briefing today, more than the briefing last week, is that this has been going on for a long time. How long? At least 2017, and last week we were told 2019. That's what I took away from it today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Lock your doors tonight.
Hey, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Mike, stop me if I'm wrong here, but weren't they worried when they were shooting these things down about the collateral damage and lives lost on the ground? But yet they used a Sidewinder missile with a non-explosive tip, which basically just was to destroy it. Where does that Sidewinder missile end up if it doesn't explode upon hitting the target? I mean, couldn't that itself cause collateral damage on the ground?
Collateral damage?
On the ground, and also perhaps killing people?
Well, potentially so, but they got to remember, too, when this stuff is over the American West, and it's over specifically even the Northwest or the upper Midwest, there is just a lot of nothingness. If you've ever flown across the country, huge farms and everything. So they could have found places that they wanted to go ahead and bring these things down without any risk to human life being involved. What we're hearing is just the same excuses and lies coming from the government as reasons to why we couldn't do this.
They choose weapons from the 1950s, a Sidewinder missile.
Well, they didn't want something to explode it, because if they do that, there's not going to be anything. But the truth of the matter is, right now, they said they can't find anything, which I don't believe, honestly.
Touche.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those missiles, by the way, are going Mach 2.5 when they leave, so it's like having a telephone pole at
Where
Mach
do they land? Where do they go? I mean, they don't just vanish in the air, right? So, I mean,
exactly. Well, that's something that the pilots actually have to carefully plot out to try to make sure that they're not, like when they were doing it over Lake Huron, they were trying to check for boats in the water and stuff like that.
Now, the Air Force has plenty of high-speed, high-altitude helicopters that they could have brought out to go ahead and deal with these craft, but they didn't. They went down the wrong path completely, unfortunately. We wish it was different, but it's not. So it's a matter of the cover-up continues, the bad decisions continue. You've always heard about that saying of calling out military intelligence, that it's an oxymoron. Absolutely. Would you look at that? We've got some super chats coming in. I want to thank everybody for your wonderful support of Disclosure tonight. Let me get this going here. Make sure it's not too loud for the audience as I get through this. Oh, there you go. It's a little too loud, but that's okay. I want to thank everybody for your... that's me. Let me just look at the audio. Perfect. I want to thank everybody for your support of Disclosure tonight. Mr. Catfish 2100 is saying, even if ETs are real, we still got to eat and sleep. We do. We're not quite sure about them. Well, we may know stuff about them, and if they do, they're not willing to go ahead and bring it up. Wreaking Havoc 215 says, what's up, Cupcake and Disclosure tonight? Thank you very much for that super chat. Absolutely. I'm trying to do a better job trying to bring them up, but some of them are not showing up in my console, and I'm missing them, and it's upsetting me a lot. Sorry about that, everybody. Remember, every donation that comes into Disclosure tonight goes back into the funding of the show. We appreciate every dollar that comes in. We're so thankful for everyone's love and support, because, hey, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the viewers out there watching the show and the people who donate to us on a regular basis. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Firefly, another one coming in. Yes, what happens when the missiles miss? Or what happens if they impact and they go through and they just pass through it potentially and they don't even blow up? How long? You said they're going at Mach 2, West?
Sorry, yeah, Mach 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already
Interesting.
discussed they had non-explosive tips. Like you said, they didn't want to actually destroy the package by blowing it up, so that makes sense. But still, it baffles my mind sometimes.
That was actually one of the things Chris Lato mentioned, is he wasn't so sure that the 3 downed UAPs or whatever actually had the explosive tips removed. In the case of the Chinese spy balloon, they had several days to prepare and do that to that missile, but he wasn't sure they would have enough time to take the explosive ordnance off the other ones when they scrambled those jets. So they may have actually had the explosives.
Yeah. Great
But
things
did
coming
that
up from the audience right now. Joseph Syracuse is saying, remember, 9 out of 10 aliens surveyed said they prefer their humans with dry toast. Miami asked a question, did they create any sonic booms? No, UFOs, if it's a UFO, usually doesn't. They have the ability to go instantaneous acceleration, being able to change navigation, change directions on a dime. They have a gravitational force field around them that we can see actually with gravitational lensing and other stuff. It's technology that is leagues beyond where we're at. Would you look at that? We've got another super chat coming in. £5. Thank you. Thank you, Matthew Bullock. We appreciate all the support from everybody. On that note, before we get on to this next video from Marco Rubio that was from earlier this week, we're doing kind of a replay of earlier things in this week to go ahead and get there. Would you look at that? Holy cow, we're up to 5,490 subs. Just 10 more to go before we hit 5,500. I appreciate everyone's love and support for the channel. But if you're having a good time, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We can't do it without you. And if you're having a good time, give us a thumbs up. And if you're not, give us a thumbs down. But if you're going to do that, at least have the common courtesy to give us feedback in the form below so we can know what we can do to fix things. Another message coming in from Joseph Syracuse. A Sidewinder missile has a range of 22 miles and a cost of $400,000. Probably less without the explosives. But either way, when you take a look at it, we're looking at missiles that are coming in right now, and they're shooting them. And there was an estimated cost for the overall taking down all the balloons in excess of $2.3 million. Just look at those subscribers come in. Thank you very much. I am so honored and humbled by everyone's love and support. Just 3 subscribers away to hit 5,500. There we go. 5,098.99. One more to go. Let's see if we can hit it. Come on. This is wonderful.
One more to save the aliens telethon. Come on. Call up.
Just one more to go. Let's get one more to call.
Don't hold up that credit card. I can't use it. Can I call in? Give
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and stop.
Without doors.
Yes. Oh my God. Holy shit. We just shot up to 5,505. It was like a... How fast was that going? Well, faster than Mach 2, I can tell you.
Welcome to Grays in Need, right? Okay,
thank you, everybody. I subbed.
We're now at $5,508.
Yes, and we're on our way now to 6,000 subs. Look at those numbers. Look at those viewers roll in. Holy shit. I am so honest. I am so honest.
Each donation that comes in, one person gets a door to save them from an alien.
Yes.
Look at this.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Thomas Fessler. Give us pizza for all. Yes, pizza goes a long way. 5,500 just now. Wow, go, guys, go. Thank you very much. Hit that subscribe and a thumbs up. Another super chat coming in, believe it or not, from Wreaking Havoc. I am so humbled by everyone's love and support of helping us grow this channel. The more this goes on, the more YouTube's going to share this channel. We found that a lot of people have found us recently because we're getting featured on the homepage of YouTube for many new viewers. Look at that. Another super chat coming in, this time from Royal Morning Blue. Thomas Fessler, what can I use to indicate even less than a thumbs down? Just send a message. That's good enough. We'll help you out wherever we can. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and ding, ding, ding.
Thomas will prove that he's not wearing pants.
Oh, I wear shorts. I haven't worn pants probably in 3 years, give or take. You can if you work out of the house. Even if I go to the office, I still wear shorts. Got circulation problems. Need to keep an eye on it. Holy cow. On that note, let's jump across to little Marco Rubio. He has got some unbelievable things to say. Let's recap on this one again.
What is this about? UFO.
Do you think that the administration is hiding information from you, or you just believe that they don't have that?
Well, I don't think hiding is a strong word. I think they certainly have information that is not available to us yet, and 95% of what was discussed in that room today can be made public without compromising the security of this country. I reiterate that we know what the spy balloon was from China, so put that one aside. The other three instances, as they are described, both publicly and in there, are not new. I mean, we've heard the exact same description in hundreds of cases, dozens this year alone. So observing unidentified objects over U.S. airspace, particularly over sensitive areas of the country, is not new. What we heard in there described, what we've heard publicly described, sounds just like the stories we've heard repeatedly. And that's why an agency was created, an interagency task force was created to study all of this from a scientific perspective. And so my concern now is that the Department of Defense is not sharing that information with those scientists so that you can compare the data we have on these instances from the ones we have retroactively in the past, some of which have been explained, and so that we have a better understanding of this. And I think there's a stigma associated with this because of space aliens and all that stuff. This is not about that. This is about whether an adversary, in my mind, this is about whether an adversary has developed a capability that we know that they know we're not looking for, because our systems are set up to see missiles and airplanes.
All right, really quick, I want to thank a couple people for some more wonderful super chats coming in. Holy cow, we've got, let's see where they just came in from right now, some big ones I want to thank. Holy cow. First of all, Rick Doty. Rick, thank you very much. If you ever want to stop in, follow that link. Would love to have you here to hear your insight. Remember, Rick used to be part of, I think, AFOSI, and interesting man. He's seen a lot of things. Some stuff he can talk about, some things he can't, but a veteran. Thank you for the service and everything you've been doing, Rick, to try and bring forward disclosure. Florence Tracy saying, congratulations, Thomas. Thank you very much. We appreciate this is coming in from the official mom of Disclosure Tonight on Saturdays. Thank you much, Florence. There's a beautiful picture of you with your granddaughter. Thank you again. I am humbled by your support as well. Wow. Happy Saturday, everybody. Let's turn this off and get back to the show.
We do love our Florence.
Thomas, can I chip in on the Marco Rubio
yes, sir.
interview there a minute? Right at the start, basically, he said that, and he reiterated it. I want to make, he reiterated that over at least 95% of that briefing that they had could be released to the public, to the American public and the wider world public. I believe at a later date he amended that and said at least 99% of what went on in that meeting.
Yeah.
So people need to make a note of that. I think that's quite important that he said that.
Yes, absolutely. It's an interesting time to say the least. Well, this is our one of our biggest Saturday shows ever. Well, I think one of the bigger ones we had is when we had last Saturday when we had actually the shoot downs going on. It continued, and we'll see where it goes. Let's continue on with Marco because it just gets more interesting as this conversation goes on.
To see smaller objects at lower altitudes.
If they're not new, sir, then why were they shot down?
Well, that's what's new. No, that's what's new. What's new is that that they were shot down, which is extraordinary because we've never shot down anything in 65 years of NORAD, and over one weekend they shot down 3 things. So, but the bigger concern now that everyone wants to know is what is it and what were they doing here, and but as they describe what's been
exactly. Finally, we're getting beyond the conversation of, ooh, look at the craft, focus on the craft. What is the craft? How does it work? And everything. We need to go ahead and look at this and ask the question, why are they here? And what the hell are they, why are they here and what are they doing? That's the question that I think everybody, whether you've been following this or not, I've talked to neighbors about what we see in our skies over here in the north, about 18 miles north of Seattle in the suburbs of Mill Creek. And I tell them about where to look and about what time of day it comes out. And they're asked the question, why are they here? What are they doing? And, we're getting there. Things are moving forward. I am so pleased to see there's such an awakening going on right now. Another super chat coming in from Daryl Zernick. There are going to be more wrenches in here than an Ace Hardware warehouse. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
We need them to screw in all those doors. Come on, people.
Yes, absolutely. Ralph G., you've got your hands up before we continue on with this video.
Yes, I was going to say, do you think, at least from my perspective, it seems the less fortunate a country is, the more willing they are to speak about this subject? Do you think that it's because like the United States and other countries like this have more to lose?
I think the more willing that why they're not talking about it potentially is because of pressure from the United States and the United States military and our intelligence agencies, and coming from our Secretary of State. We've seen plenty of declassified information coming out of Australia and other places where they're going out to find out information, and I wouldn't doubt that they're working behind the scenes to try and, if you want to call it, tamp down the information of what's being spread. Because remember, the United States spends tons of money every single year, monthly, daily, on supporting countries outside the United States. You don't play along with our games, you don't follow the rules and the things we ask you, those millions or billions of dollars that are coming your way will be stopped. What would you do if you're a small country and you rely on that money for social programs or other? You're going to listen to the government, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it's a shame, but it just shows the government will leverage whatever they can to have their agenda going on. Remember, United States government and the way they've dealt with so many countries around the world, we say we're a democracy, but we actually act almost in an imperialist kind of way, how we come into countries with our military, take things over, and get it for our resources and for our needs versus the needs of the people who are actually there. Let's move on with Marco Rubio.
We have hundreds and hundreds of these over the years. The report that was issued by the Department of National Intelligence earlier this year lists over 500 such cases, dozens this year alone. So the question now has to be, why are they setting up a new task force? Take this data, make it immediately available to those scientists so you can enter it into that database, but also so you can cross-reference it and compare it to the other hundreds of cases that we have. That's the only way you're going to begin to get answers about what it is we're dealing with here, who it belongs to, what it's doing here. I imagine some of these are going to have explanations that are...
Well, that's why his question was answered. What happened to AARO? What happened to the investigation coming from Kirkpatrick and others? Well, the reason is because they don't have funding. And after they found out about that, there was a letter put out to basically from all the senators saying this is going to get fixed. Senators in the House, senators, I believe, and representatives from the House. Would you look at that? Couple more super chats coming in. Holy cow, it's Super Chat Saturday. Another one coming in from Greg O'Brien saying, hogwash. As my dad would say, hogwash. Love you, Dad. Sean Edge saying diversion, prepare for WW3. Well, we'll see what it is, what's been going on. Well, you certainly hope not, but it's not the best of times, and we'll see. Well, Russia, forget that matter. 92% of their military right now is getting destroyed in Ukraine. It's an interesting thing to say the least, and we could say some of this is to cover that up. But remember, if the U.S. literally did blow up the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, that's something that could spin out to something very deep. And I hate to say that, Sean Edge, you've got the Black Lake Tech Scov with a microphone. Take that out, give it to the aliens, and let's shove that up the ass of our government to say, give us the truth.
Others are going to be more complicated. I imagine some are frankly going to be crafts that were launched by a company or an individual or whatever, and others may not be. They may be nation states that have developed some rudimentary capability that can collect intelligence or test the aerospace defenses of the United States, but I'm speculating. That's why we want this to be handled from a data and scientific perspective, but it begins by using this process that Congress created for them. And so far it appears they're not using that.
Senator, it sounds like a lot of lawmakers coming out of this briefing are confident that the American public is not in danger. Do you share that viewpoint after this briefing today?
Well, I don't think there's any indication that the objects were here to launch weapons against us. But if one of these things, if an airplane sucks a vulture into its engine, it's going to go down, or could go down. So most certainly, if it takes an object size of an ATV or a car or a barrel, collides with an airplane, we're going to have a catastrophic event. So that's danger, because not only is it going to kill the people on that plane, it's going to kill the people on the ground where that plane crashes. So if it's not a danger, then why'd they shoot these things down? They shot it down because they felt it was operating at an altitude that posed a threat to commercial aviation. There is a reason why we restrict who can fly where and when, so things don't crash into each other. If we have things flying over our airspace that is not ours, did not coordinate with us, and doesn't belong there, that is the definition of danger.
Do you agree with the
a new
administration?
policy to just shoot it down?
What's that?
Is it a new policy then just to shoot it down?
Never shot him down before. That sounds like new to me. And again, I'm not.
Did you ask though what if this is a new strategy moving forward?
I didn't.
Here's a note too. This is the first time in history, going all the way back to World War II, when we had the Battle for Los Angeles that took place. When that happened, we unloaded a ton of stuff and artillery that were shooting towards the sky. But this is the first time we've had the U.S. Air Force actively engaged with objects from unknown sources. They still don't know what the heck this stuff is. Well, if they do, they're not telling us the truth, and I think that's about where it is. But unfortunately, you know, this is the first time in our history that the Air Force has been engaged with unknown objects and our military over the skies of the United States, and this is something that sounds like Biden is willing to go ahead and continue with. Holy cow, more super chats coming in. We've had another 3 ones that have come in from W. Decker. Thank you very much, sir. I am so honored to have all the love and support coming in from so many people. We've got W. Decker saying it's an honor to be able to participate in such a show. We've got Firefly saying thanks for my spanner. Greg O'Brien, World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones potentially. Depends on how much, what happens if we get hit by something coming from our sun. It's an interesting situation to say the least. Let's take that down and continue with the show.
Ask. I know just because I had one question, you know, they give you one question in there, but I don't think the answer to that is it is new. I mean, these are not the first time we've cited unidentified objects over U.S. airspace. It's just the first time we shoot them down.
There should be a process going forward.
Well, as far as the process,
there's another good statement right there. This isn't the first time we've seen unidentified objects over the United States. First time we shot them down. Times are changing, to say the least.
Down. My question really is the most important question we have to answer now is what are these things? Who sent them here? And what are they doing here? And the only way you're going to get answers to that is not just to retrieve whatever's left of them, but to understand how it compares to the hundreds of other similar cases. Because what bothers me the most is everyone's acting like this is the first time we've ever seen these things, and so we reacted that way. No, it isn't. We've had hundreds and hundreds of cases reported by military personnel. We've been talking about it for years. And there's a process now that's been set up to analyze these, and this data should be a part of that process immediately, not a year from now, not 6 months from now, right away, so we can cross-compare it to those previous instances and maybe begin to get some answers faster than we would otherwise.
Are they getting a lot of information?
A new policy, though, on how they're going to deal with this?
No, I have no understanding, nor does anyone else, about how they're going to handle it the next time one of these is made of alien origin. The what?
Hold on. This is a good question here. Listen to this one here. This is probably the gem, the hidden gem in this whole conversation.
Else about how they're going to handle it the next time one of these is made of alien origin. The what?
Do you rule out the alien origin, extraterrestrial origin?
The alien origin?
Yeah, you said
I don't know what we could do about that.
Okay. No laughs, no snickers. One little snicker from the blonde off to the side. But he's very serious about that, saying, I don't know what we're going to be able to do about
Thomas,
that. Yes, sir.
Before you press play, can you move it across a bit? Because I want everybody to see the lady on the far left, because everyone's smiling and she's got a what the actual fuck look on her face when he says the. Don't know what we can do about that.
Yeah,
we pointed
you
around
mean the lady on the far left here?
Yeah. Everybody's smiling because she's like, girl, I'm going to leave this city right now.
Absolutely. Would you look at that? 686 people in the chat. Holy cow. Or 666 people in the chat. Do us a favor. If you're having a good time, would you look at that? I think we've got 290 thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. And if you're not having a good time, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs down. I'll take it any way you're willing to give it. But if you're going to give us a thumbs down, at least go ahead and tell us why in the forum below. And if you're having a good time, we'd love to hear some feedback from you as well. With another super chat coming in. Holy cow, this one coming in again from Mr. Catfish 2100, who's saying, doesn't sound like balloons, Thomas. I know. I don't know what we're going to do about that when it comes to the aliens, and that is the truth. Let's listen.
Because if this is the Chinese or the Russians or someone's invented a capability that we can't monitor, that sounds like a big problem.
Is there any timeline in informing the American people of what these things are?
My timeline part. I want to go back on that again.
Russians or someone's invented a capability. If I would almost hope it is at some point, because if this is the Chinese or the Russians or someone's invented a capability that we can't monitor, that sounds like a big problem.
Okay. Again, the words are exactly. I would almost hope that what we're seeing at some point is aliens, because if the Russians or Chinese have these kind of capabilities, that is a real big problem. Well, it's a big problem they've known about. The government's been covering it up for 75 to 77 years. And as Senator John Kennedy said, the cow is out of the barn with response to respect to this. Also, another super chat coming in. Wow, what a crazy day. This one coming in from Joseph Syracuse again. Waiting for this special incontrovertible event where the aliens pull down their pants and moon us. That would be, well, do they wear pants? Doesn't sound, well, yeah, it sounds like they do. It sounds like they're wearing jumper suits than anything. But thank you very much for that wonderful super chat, John. Holy cow. Let me take that down and continue this video.
Is there any timeline in informing the American people of what these things are?
My timeline's immediate, at least, well, we have to know what we're talking about. But I do think that when you shoot things down over the airspace of this country for the first time in the 65-year history of NORAD, you know you owe the American people more than some hurriedly called press conference in the middle of the Super Bowl.
Senator, what's your message to the American people who might have questions, who might wonder where this is going?
My message to the American people is that 99% of what they told us in there, I said 95 coming out, is probably closer to 99. I've adjusted but my message is that 99% of the information we were just briefed on, there's no reason it can't be shared with the American people. It wouldn't compromise the security of this country.
What do you want to tell the American people? Should they be concerned? Should they be fearful? Are these...
I don't think anybody needs to be concerned that something bad is going to happen to them today walking down the street from something overhead. I think what they should be concerned about is that their government has a process in place to analyze these things in a way that allows us to get closer to understanding what we're dealing with. And I'm concerned right now that that's not the process that's in place, that we've now created a brand new process headed by the National Security Council when we already have an existing process that's staffed with scientists and experts who have already collected on hundreds of previous incidents almost identical to this one, and who could use this data from this incident to compare to those and begin to get us closer to answers about who's flying this stuff here and what is it doing here.
Were you given any more details? The China spy balloon, can you just talk about, a lot of the payload was recovered. Can you talk, how much are they learning from?
Well, that's probably the 1% that I can't share at this point. It sounds like I know more about it than they did a week ago.
Interesting comment from Rick Doty. I don't think we, the people, will ever get full disclosure. I don't think we'll get it either, Rick. I think that's a great point. I think we're going to get information dished out to us slowly over a period of time, but actually opening up the books and give us everything, that's going to be something hard to hit. And I wish we would get it, but again, we're dealing with a government. We don't live in the United States of America anymore. This is the United National Security State of America, where we have a bunch of states. Our federal government gave them way too much power to do whatever they want and be able to get away with it, break laws as necessary, spread lies and disinformation, discredit people, demoralize people about what's going on out there. But we're at a point now where the media has woken up. Our senators and our House representatives have woken up, and they are not going to give up to push this situation as far as it needs to go.
But that, I think, is critical to our national security, and so that's certainly a piece that I won't discuss. But as far as the other three incidents, they were not Chinese spy balloons in the sense that they look anything like what was previously.
Have they identified a country of origin?
They have no nation. They don't know whose it is. They don't even know what it is. They can't even tell you what it looked like beyond.
Are you confident they'll know those answers?
Okay, they can't tell us what it looks like. Now, the pilots saw it, but the pilots have high speed cameras on board, multiple types of signals intelligence to pick stuff up, and to say that they don't have anything, that they can't show anything. Do you believe that? I sure as hell don't believe that, to tell you the truth. That's something we're going to have to bring up. Now, let me go ahead and just do a quick, let me let Christian Morales in the back, and I am going to do something we do here on Disclosure tonight. We're going to do a quick rapid survey. And I'm going to start a poll here with, would you look at that, 723 people in the show right now. Holy cow. Please vote on this one. Do you believe the government that they have no... Do you believe the government, I'll make that clear, that the U.S. government, that they have no visual evidence of these incidents? Granted, we've gotten visual information coming from the air, coming from people on the ground, what's out there. And I personally, I don't believe it at all. Let's see where our chat takes this. This is something as questions we like to do here on Disclosure tonight, to try and bring out the truth and find out where not just what we think on the show and what we're talking about. We want to be less of preaching the information rather than sharing it and seeing where it is. Hey, Google, give me a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds, please.
1 minute and 30 seconds.
Starting now. All right, come on out there, people, and vote. Let's see where it is. Look at that, 93% of the audience with just 123 votes in, with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go. We don't believe the government that they have no visual evidence. We could say maybe, then I would go ahead and say no, because if they don't have, if they maybe had it, would they show it to us? My guess is they have the information and they're not willing to go ahead and bring it up. And look at that, another super chat coming in from Call Me Bob. Is that Skinny Bob? Nope, not that. Bring forward on victory. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Bob, for that wonderful super chat. Holy cow, as we get back to this. Just 45 seconds left. Mike, how would you vote on this? Yes or no?
Oh, I already voted on this. There's no way in hell that they don't have those information.
I'm right with you there. We just have 30 seconds left.
The F-22s have gun cameras on them, and there was 3 incidents. Of course they have video on it.
And there were multiple fighters up at every time. They just didn't want to put one fighter up there, so they have it from multiple angles, right?
Correct. And all of the information.
Yeah.
The FLIR, the stealth, everything that's on board those fighters.
Absolutely. Just 9 seconds left. Get out there, vote. Would you look at that? Let's see if we can hit 200 votes before I go ahead and close that down. 191 votes. Come on, people. 192 votes in, but I think we've got an idea where the audience,
Hey, Thomas,
193 votes.
What was the question, Thomas? I kind of fast forwarded. I was watching. I'm like an hour behind, so I'm not sure what's happening. But
Christian, do you believe the U.S. government that they have no visual evidence of these incidents?
Oh, absolutely not. They definitely do have evidence.
Yes, they do. They do. I've got a screenshot of that. And would you look at that? And okay, let's go ahead and bring this up. And here's the answer. Let me go ahead and just crop it out so we can do this and look at the poll. 90% of the people in the Disclosure Tonight audience right now, out of 201 votes, we have 756 people watching the show right now. It's a great percentage saying, no, they do not believe the federal government, that they don't have any evidence, saying we do believe they do have evidence and they need to go ahead and share it with the American people. It's a fact. That's exactly how I would vote. And I think I would normally have put fuck no on that, but we know where that all goes in that matter. Let's go ahead and take that across, unless we're almost at the very end of this video. Let's watch the last few seconds of it and then open it up to the panel.
I don't know those answers. I don't know, so I guess I'm not confident that they'll know those answers. I think they'll have more answers if they take the data that was collected from the sensors on the aircraft that engaged them and share that with AARO, the office of that was set up to analyze these things. So
he couldn't remember what AARO stood for, but that's okay.
The scientists and experts at AARO can not just analyze that data, but cross-compare it to the other data we've collected from the hundreds of other incidents and begin to get a clearer picture of what we're dealing with. That's the only way you're ever going to get an answer to this, and that process is so far not happening.
There you go. Interesting situation, to say the least. You know, it really shows that our government has woken up, and this is something where we're actually moving forward, and we're not just stuck in this purgatory, if you want to call it, of not knowing what we're dealing with. I think we're in a good place. Let's see what we've got going in the back here. Wes Decker, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I just wanted to take a quick moment to once again congratulate you on all of the amazing viewers you're gaining. And on a personal note, we described recently how some of our friends have been reaching out. while we were here on the show, my best friend reached out to me, and I would like to just say welcome to him because he's watching the show now. So you're pulling in not only new audience members, but even good friends of mine. So congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. And for all those who are out here, the reason that I'm here, the reason I just do disclosure tonight, yeah, I'm one of those people who has flashback memories of some really shady shit that happened to me starting back in 1973, went on for 3 years. My immune system has never been the same for it, and I'm a part of this, not because it's something cool or it's something for us to go and talk about, because I have a personal attachment to what's been happening on our skies and the lies that the government has been purporting against the people of the United States and the world. Another super chat coming in from Steven saying, we love you, Thomas. Let's see what else our audience is saying right now. The camera footage is probably terrible and not worth the bother. I can imagine them holding on to it, and while we waste our time trying to get it, when it's released, it will be shit. Well, you know what? Lou Elizondo has spoken in the past that they've got a 23-minute video in high definition that they can go ahead and see occupancy in the craft. I know I'll use the word occupancy because he probably can't talk about what's in the craft, but he's saying when you're looking at the craft, there is clear occupancy that we can all see. Let's take a look at what Joseph, he is in the chat, but he is not in the back. As it turns out, Christopher Mellon and Louis Elizondo wound up being the immense amount of prunes that Congress needed to loosen them up before from their constipation on the UFO subject. That's a great way to put it. But another way to look at this is I think we're getting past, if you want to call it at this point, we're getting past that stigma where everyone laughs and chuckles and says, oh, no, this is not the way that it is, because it looks like this is the way that it is. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, Thomas, can you invite Rick Doty to come on the panel with us right now?
Oh, if he could come up right now, just follow the link, Rick, from your phone. It's pretty easy to go ahead and do it. Maybe easier if you got the Google. Is everyone using the Google like Gmail app, or are you coming in just from the web link? I think it should be relatively for anybody. Rick, if
I'm on the web link, Tom.
Yeah. Rick, if you'd like to come in, it works from a mobile phone, works from there. It's a lot easier than using some of the stuff like StreamYard and all that stuff. You don't have to put your picture up or anything, but it's great to have you around. Let's see what else our audience is saying. Rick Doty said for Thomas to invite him on the show. Yes, I will go ahead and reach out to Rick and bring him on here. If this isn't a good time, we know a lot of people have their lives going on. I'll reach out to Rick on email and see what we can do to find a date that works for him. Thank you for that reminder, everybody. What else is people in the audience saying? Yes, it's becoming a mainstream topic at last. That is the truth, because we're getting a lot more people who are coming in to understand and say, you know what? What are those things in the skies? And for everybody who's new to this, remember, our government has been lying to us for well over 75 years. When Lou Elizondo was on this show a year ago, coming up in March, I believe, I asked Lou Elizondo specifically the question about Roswell. Did it happen? Was it real? I said, what's your personal take on this? Oh, Rick is here. And he said he came back 100% saying, yes, it did. Rick Doty, are you there, my friend? Let's see if his mic, you're muted right now on the bottom of the channel, on the bottom of the interface. There should be a little mic. There you go. Rick, how you doing? Oh, there you are. Turn your camera on for a second. Your mic should be.
Good. I'm doing great, Thomas.
Yeah. What's your take on this whole situation? Have we reached the point where as Senator John Kennedy said, the cow's out of the barn?
Well, I think I have some inside information on this.
Okay.
The briefing that the senators got only pertained to sources and methods.
Right. So there was no evidence or anything along them for them to go ahead and see it. Just talked about the sources and methods, or were they shown stuff from the sources and methods?
They were shown stuff in the sources and methods.
Yeah. Do you think it gives them a reason to be upset that they're still not getting shared the amount of information that they should be shown?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, they are upset over that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your take on this overall situation? Where do you see that this is going next?
Well, I think we know more. The government knows more than they're telling anyone.
Right. Yeah, we've known that for some time, and you've talked about this many times in the past, I believe.
And our group, which is trying to get disclosure out there, is aligned with Senator Rubio.
Yeah. And I think Senator Rubio has all of his other senators, and this is a purely bipartisan movement at this point.
Yes, it is. It is. It's bipartisan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see so many people are interested in this. This is one of our biggest Saturday shows, just to keep on talking about this subject. I think we've hit that point where the discussion on this and everything is actually going mainstream. It's getting outside of the people who, they used to claim that we were wearing tinfoil hats, but now it's time for them to wear tinfoil hats. The government, that is.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great.
Can I ask Rick a question?
Yeah. One thing really quick, Rick. I think you may be listening to the live stream on YouTube and not the audio coming out of Google Meet.
Yeah, no, that's better. Yeah.
There you go. That way it's a little bit more real time. Great to have you here. You got a question for Rick, Mike? Go ahead.
I do. Yeah. Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Thanks for joining the show. My name is Mike. I'm on the show with Thomas. You said that the classified briefing included sources and methods, right?
Yes.
Does that mean that if there was any sensor footage or camera footage from the encounters with these objects, that the Senate was briefed on that?
No, according to our sources within the Senator Rubio's camp, there wasn't any photographs shown to the senators.
No footage, no sensor data, no FLIR data, right?
No FLIR data, no gun camera videos, no.
So they were given basically the same information that the public has at this point.
Yes. But I do know that the pilot from the 142nd Air National Guard in Portland, Oregon, who chased the object over Montana, he disclosed to a Oregonian, the newspaper in Portland, he disclosed a lot of data to this reporter. And immediately after he gave this data or this interview to this reporter, the reporter was told not to discuss it because it was all classified. But some of that leaked out. The fact that some of his avionics aboard his F-15 malfunctioned. The radar screen went blank. The avionics, some of the tracking mechanisms within the avionics malfunctioned. And he then thought that this was more than just a balloon. Something else caused this.
Well, usually these fighter craft, when they send them up to engage and intercept, they're not just one plane with one pilot. There should have been another pilot and plane with him. Did the other plane have experienced the same effects?
There were two pilots. Two planes went up with 142nd, and there were two planes from a South Dakota Air National Guard. But the South Dakota Air National Guard planes were at a lower altitude, because according to the pilot, and this was public knowledge. This item went from 40,000 down to 20,000 and then back up to 30,000 feet. So it wasn't maintaining one particular altitude. It varied from one altitude to another. The South Dakota National Guard planes were tracking it at a lower level. Him and his wingman, or another aircraft, because like you said, always two of them flew at intercepts. only one of those planes were experiencing that problem because he was the closest to the object.
Yeah, I understand. Well, listen, since you have so much experience on this particular subject, what's been coming out about these three objects in particular that were shot down? In your opinion, if it was in fact part of an advanced technology, do you think we would have been able to shoot them down with conventional weapons? What's your opinion on that, Rick?
You know, that's an excellent question. You know, that's when this all started, not counting the balloon, the Chinese balloon, which we knew was a balloon, but these other crafts that were flying, if they were extraterrestrial crafts, you wouldn't think they would be subjected to our weapon systems. However, I was told by a person smarter than me in relation to this, an ex-fighter pilot, that some of these munitions we use are not as advanced. In fact, the Sidewinder, the AIM-9, was developed initially back in the 1950s.
Right.
You know, but the one now they're using, the 9Xs, was developed in the 1990s, and this has a simpler infrared system, which might not be able, the alien craft might not be able to actually defend itself against something as simple as that one. That's the only thing I know I can say about it. It troubled me that if it was in fact an alien craft, that we were able to shoot it down that easily.
No, because listen, speaking of another fighter pilot, you're familiar with Colonel Chris Leto, right?
Yes, absolutely.
When this all happened, Colonel Chris Leto came out and made a statement with his experience as a fighter pilot. He said that there is no way in hell that these were UAP objects, because if they were, we never would have been able to shoot them down. And then to corroborate that, believe it or not, right after he made that statement, Edward Snowden came out and made a similar statement at the same time and said, with his knowledge and experience in the government, that these craft, whatever they are, if we were able to shoot them down, they're not alien tech. It's impossible. So I tend to believe what they're saying. And I wanted to see.
Well, here's the one thing, Mike, really quick. As Rick was talking about, a balloon is not going to be jumping between 10,000 to 20,000, 30,000 feet, jumping between 20 and 40,000 feet on a drop of a dime. That's not a conventional balloon or aircraft.
No, I understand that, Thomas, and I would agree. The only thing is there's really nothing to verify or corroborate that object was in fact moving between 20 and 30,000 feet. We have nothing to support that.
Well, the pilot that was tracking it reported it, and that was reported in public. In fact, the spokesman at the Pentagon, if you go back to the spokesman at the Pentagon, he said the altitudes varied. He didn't say that they went from 40 to 20, but the pilot told a reporter the object varied over Montana, and that's why they lost it. Another thing that might not support the fact that it wasn't a UAP or UFO alien technology is that they lost it. It disappeared on radar, and they were tracking it on 2 classified radar systems, which I only know about one of them, and I'm not going to talk about it. It's a satellite system that tracks objects. It should be able to track everything. And this one, this object over Montana disappeared from radar, both ground-based radar and there were satellite systems. And they found it the next day flying over. They think it's the same one, but then again, there's a lot of people out there saying it's not the same one.
Right.
That was shot down over Lake Huron.
Yeah, I got a question coming in from Tony D. He would like to know in our audience saying, what is Rick's opinion about the Air Force tweaking out the UFOs from the filters, basically filtering out all of the radar data that our military has been using for a long time?
You know, that's an interesting question. I'm not a technical person. I know a little bit about radar and how that operates. But there's experts on my team, this retired intelligence officers, who talk just about that, how they do that. And it's all done by the satellite systems. They can filter out. We're so sophisticated in our satellite tracking systems that we can filter out anything we want to filter out. And why they do it and how they do it, I don't know. But I think they're filtering out the true unknowns. I mean, they're filling out the true knowns and only dealing with the unknowns.
Yeah, but it's a question of the way it was explained by Admiral Kirby, was that they were only tracking ICBM ballistic missile launches and high-speed objects, fast movers. Anything that was not moving quickly, anything with a lower radar track, they had it all screened out until the Chinese balloon came over the United States, and then they removed those filters. Then we started picking these objects up. So,
right, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No, right. Yeah. And Senator Marco Rubio was going over the fact that this is considered to be an intelligence gap. It's an awareness gap that we are blinded to anything that was those filters was blocking out. The United States couldn't defend against. And anyone so far as to say that this has been going on for many years, that there's been an intelligence gap with our surveillance systems to protect the continental United States. Years and years and years. And they only uncovered the filters by accident because of the 6,000-pound Chinese balloon. That was, very obvious. There was, you didn't need radar to see that. So this was either a gap in our ability to defend ourselves or something that the military has specifically been trying to avoid by utilizing those filters. And since you were in the Air Force, Rick, what's your opinion on that?
Before those.
Well, let me tell you this. In the 1980s, I was an Air Force intelligence officer, and I had information. I was privy to some highly classified information that, and I'm not disclosing everything, but there's a unique signature that's given off by an ET craft that we can detect on radar. Before 1980s, we couldn't do that. These things could be flying all over, and we couldn't control or see them. But in the 1980s, some top scientists someplace, I don't know where, developed the method, and it's probably still being used, where we could detect a unknown or a non-terrestrial craft, as they call them. Now, I don't know how they do it, but I know back in the 80s they could do it. And I'm sure we're probably more advanced now that we probably advanced that systems tremendously by now.
Well, speaking of which, let me ask you this, Rick. Are you familiar with Dr. Gary Nolan? Have you heard of him?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what about former GS-15 CIA John Ramirez, who was involved in some of the
know him very well. Yes.
Oh, very good. Here's the question. Both of them had made statements that the United States government has achieved the ability to communicate with this advanced technology, the phenomenon, and they've been receiving responses. Are you familiar with that? Have you heard anything about that recently?
Yes.
Can you talk about what you know as far as that's concerned? What have you heard?
Well, I know that we have we established contact way back in the 50s, way before my time, but it's contained in classified documents. Yeah. And then since the late 80s and into the 90s, we've developed new techniques to communicate with at least one extraterrestrial race, maybe many more. But I know of one particular one that we were able to communicate with. Now I know John Ramirez talks about a couple others. I didn't have access to that information, and he probably had access to some information that I didn't have access to.
Well, which is the race that you're familiar with that you heard about, Rick?
Well, it's the same one that crashed at Roswell, the Ebens.
The Ebens, the Greys you're talking about.
Yes, the Greys, absolutely. Yes, you're right, the Greys.
And they have been, you said, responding, communicating with the government What part of the government would they be communicating with? Intelligence or military?
I know that the information is being filtered through DIA. I don't know exactly whether it's NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, or the National Security Administration. I don't know which one, but I know it. The information is filtered to DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, I'm familiar with DIA.
Yeah.
So these communications, from what you're describing, have been going on for a very, very long time, back and forth, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So what is the end result? Does it affect policy in the United States government as far as how they deal with this communications that they've been receiving?
Well, it's so compartmented that I don't know where it's filtered to. I'm not in any position, or was never in a position to know where all that information went.
Right, but you have heard through channels and through contacts about that information, right?
Yeah. I've heard bits and pieces that that the information gets to policymakers, but not directly. It goes through a roundabout way or system, and it does go through the National Director of National Security or National Intelligence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The ODNI. So Rick, let me ask you this. Are they just communicating, or are they working with the United States government physically, directly? Anything you've heard of, any knowledge you have?
I know at times they have worked with us, but I don't know any particulars in that. And again, it's very compartmented. You hear bits and pieces, and people that are in our group, former retired intelligence officers, they know a bit more than I do, and they talk about it in our meetings, but nothing in great details. But you're right. It eventually gets to policymakers.
Yeah.
Oh, it has to. It absolutely has to. Are you familiar with?
Hey, I'd like to ask a question too.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
So, one thing that's been bothering me a little bit, and I've been pretty frustrated, is there's this whole conspiracy now that this is all a psyop, a false flag, but it doesn't make any sense to me why that the government would want this kind of attention. And could it be that the objects that they shot down, they haven't found the materials because maybe those objects weren't destroyed? Maybe they made contact with the objects, with the missiles, and thought they destroyed them. But we know the capabilities of these UAPs and how they can basically have godly powers. So maybe they really can't find them. I don't know. What's your opinion on that, guys?
Well,
Rick,
yeah,
can
Christian.
you answer that?
Yeah, Christian. That's a fantastic question and a great observation, because there's many people with my group and other groups within the government even that are asking the same question. Is it possible that these things might have disappeared? They thought they shot them down, but they didn't, and they just disappeared, or they went into some other dimension. There's a scientist. I don't know if you know Jack Cervetti. Some of you might know him. He's a very brilliant physicist who has an online forum.
Yeah.
Some people within his group, top scientists, think that maybe these were dimensional objects, and that they were in one dimension. They'd come out, and now we see them in our dimension. And when these rockets or missiles were fired at them, they went back into their dimension. Now that's a story I hear, and I guess that's probably a possibility.
And if you take a look at that, Rick, one of the people, I'm sure you're aware. I mean, I'm sure you know of Colonel John Alexander, retired at this point.
Yes,
he's probably one of the biggest proponents who's been saying for as long as I've known him that what we're dealing with in the sky, we don't know where it's from. There's a good chance it is a dimensional entity.
Yeah, exactly. And by my former employer, Dr. Hal Puthoff, because I worked at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Austin with Dr. Puthoff.
Yeah.
He gave a lecture a couple years ago on that same subject, presenting scientific facts that would indicate that these were dimensional. They weren't necessarily coming from some star group, maybe from some star group, but maybe they were traveling through a dimension. So yeah, I agree. That's a possibility.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to say the least, and just, we're at a point now where I think the stigma has broken through to the people, and it's kind of crumbling away. We've got the media who's asking the right questions. We've got the people in coming from the Senate and the House in the United States government. They're asking the right questions. They're not laughing. They're not snickering. There's a huge interest coming from the public right now. I don't think I think this is bigger than what we even had before when we had the first UFO reporter, subsequent ones that came out. It's just everyone wants to understand and know about it.
I agree. There's so many unknowns in this subject that only the government can answer these questions, and maybe it's possible that they don't even know have any of the right answers to the questions that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Wes, you've had your hand up for a while.
I just wanted to follow up on Christian's question. What do you think about the idea of this being possibly a disinformation campaign? Do you put any credence in that?
Well, consider I ran a few of them during my career. It could be, but there would have to be an objective. You just don't go out and create a deception operation. We call them deceptions, and you call them disinformation. A deception operation. There would have to be an objective. Why would they want to do this? Now, you could think of a number of reasons why they want to, trying to mask something that we might, the government wants to hide, and they're directing all their attention to these shoot downs or these objects, the UAPs and these balloons, and it would distract the public from something else. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Would they go to this length and scale and expense to do that, Rick, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I heard Thomas mention that a single shoot down was about $2 million, and I heard that could be as much as $4 million based on the number of aircrafts, the number of support planes that go up in the air to check these out. I think somebody mentioned earlier that some people, the public, and I saw a reporter on CNN News talk about this, and obviously that reporter was extremely ignorant of how these intercepts work. But when there's an intercept, there's more than one plane that goes up. There's at least two, a minimum of two, and then there's two additional backup planes. Plus, there's an airborne defense plane or airborne plane that coordinates all this, and they can be a C-130 or an
AWACS.
AWACS plane. Plus, there's ground personnel that's notified, and so you're talking about literally hundreds of people involved. So it could be as much as $4 million per intercept. So I don't know that we would go through all that trouble on some kind of deception operation just to hide something. I just don't know that. I don't believe that.
Well, let me ask you this. Colonel Robert Salas from Malmstrom has recently come forward and testified. Have you been reached out to come testify before government about your knowledge? Rick?
Yes, I have. I've done 4 interviews in person with Senate aides that twice they came to me, came to New Mexico. I live in New Mexico, and then twice I went to Washington D.C. and was interviewed on camera. And I also participated in a Department of Defense Inspector General's investigation of this, where they contacted me and asked me questions about cases that I investigated back in the 80s, late 70s and 80s. And they even had the case numbers, and I participated in that. So yes, I was involved. I haven't gone. They haven't put me in public yet, although I have admitted that I consented to going public.
Oh, well, we appreciate that, Rick. That's definitely the right approach. And nobody else really is looking to come forward publicly. So that's a good thing. Did they mention anything to you about the Paul Benowitz case?
Yes, but not the direct case. The case is pretty much mute. There's some aspects of the case that are actually still classified that dealt with how Paul collected laser data and things like that they talked to me about. But the case in general is they didn't discuss.
Well, like you said earlier.
Sorry, I just wanted to say I'm just gonna say a really quick comment. There's Mario Woods. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he basically validated that he had an experience and he recognized you way back in. I'm not sure if it was in the late 70s. I think it was 78. And he was he recognized you. For me, that was really big because I'm like, I don't know. I just gave definitely credibility that, you were definitely, in the Air Force Special Investigations, which is very interesting. And I'm not going to go into all the questions I have about that because I got so many. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right, so Rick, what I was asking you is, you said earlier that when you do these types of operations, the disinformation, there's usually an objective. What was the objective with Paul Benowitz? Do you remember?
Yeah, Paul Benowitz, he accidentally, I think, strayed into a very highly classified program. We had a laser system on Kirtland Air Force Base. This isn't classified anymore. It's been out. In fact, it's been in probably 10 different books. We had a laser system at Kirtland Air Force Base, which was called Starlight, the Starlight system. When a Soviet satellite flew over our base, the Kirtland Air Force Base, this laser would shoot up and blind the satellite, Soviet satellite.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you might want to
I'll take care of that.
Thomas.
We were able to blind the satellite, and Paul Benowitz tapped into that. He also tapped into photographing some of our very early drone programs that we had. And back in those days, the only way you could control the drone was launch them from an aircraft. So a 135, a special C-135 would fly. These drones would be launched outside the craft and then fly around, being controlled inside the craft. And he witnessed that, and he thought that these drones were flying dangerously close to these aircraft. Of course, which they were. And
give me a second. I got someone here who's
Thomas,
a
just block
joker,
that
and
person.
I'm taking him out of the call.
Block.
Done.
Okay.
Thanks, Thomas.
Which these drones were, but only because they were being controlled by it. That's what he tapped into, and it was our job to try to
find this person again. Hold on, I've got a person who I thought I blocked and I didn't block. Hold on a second. Blah blah blah. Give me a second here to get this person out of here. Block from the call. Remove. Got it. Sorry about that, guys.
No, thanks again. Sorry about that, Rick. Go ahead. Continue what you were saying.
And so we had to disinform Paul. But it was easy to do because Paul already believed in UFOs. He was a MUFON investigator in New Mexico. And I just had to say, Paul, I think these things weren't true UFOs. So we had to stray him to believing they were UFOs and not some kind of some highly classified projects, which they were. And that's what it involved.
So let me ask you this. Was he the only person that ended up dying as a result of government intervention, or were there others that you're aware of?
Well, he didn't die because of that.
No.
Paul Benowitz smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day. He drank 4 quarts of Coca-Cola. He drank enormous amount of coffee. He didn't take care of himself. He already had liver problems. Those things that caused the death of Paul Benowitz. It wasn't the U.S. Air Force or the U.S. government's investigation of him. I maintained friendship with Paul right up to the day he died. I saw him 2 days before he passed away. We were the best of friends. I informed him of this situation way back in the 80s, and he wouldn't believe me. He said, no, I know what they are. I know what they are because I believe in UFOs. So I could never get him to understand why we were doing what we were doing.
We got another joker in here, blocked.
It's the same person, Thomas.
I know, but I blocked them from the call. They blocked them both from the call. So whoever it is, I blocked them. They shouldn't be able to get in. So taken care of.
Okay,
Right.
that's Paul Benowitz's case.
Right. Okay. So I see that Syrup and Christian Morales have their hands raised. So if they want to ask a question, be my guest.
Yeah, real quick. They keep saying they don't have pictures, they don't have footage of the stuff they shot down. What would be the most logical explanation, assuming they did have that footage, that they're not allowing it to go out to the public?
Well, the gun camera, they have every single intercept aircraft has three different cameras on it. They have infrared. They have an infrared camera. They have just a normal high resolution camera, and then they have a camera that controls that's inside the cockpit that the pilot can't do anything with it. It shows the pilot and it shows the instruments. Okay, those three cameras are in every single intercept planes. So they're taking pictures, especially when they're on an intercept. This pilot, this McElhaney, the pilot that was on television talking about intercepts, and he explained what the cameras did. The cameras were automatic. As soon as they lock onto something, those cameras are on, and it's tracking that object. And you see these things. You saw them off the Nimitz, the 2004 camera. That's exactly what you see them. Although they're more advanced now. They actually developed a brand new system. And I think I think Lou talked about the new systems was not Lou, Day, retired Petty Officer Day. He talked about the new system that does a high resolution. So someplace the Air Force has, or intelligence agencies has these photographs or these videos. Why they won't release them? They obviously contain something that's classified that they don't want the public to see, and that's why they won't release them.
And real quick, could that possibly be maybe the way the system works that they're recording this vehicles or these objects with, or would you say it has more or less to do with the object they were trying to shoot down? The reason why it's classified.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the system that well. Kevin Day talked about it. I think he would, if I wish he was here, he probably could explain it a lot better than I could.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah. Interesting situation.
Christian had his hand raised as well. Thomas.
Yeah. Christian, my friend.
You talking to me?
No, Christian. I guess we lost Christian. Anyway,
Yes,
did you have
did.
a question? Go ahead. Did you have a question, sir? Yes? Not a Cyril?
I got a question. I want to say I send you like the Twitter link. I got like a video on the Twitter.
We're not
link
watching
showing
your
the
Twitter link
room.
right now.
You
We're
don't
still
show-
we're in the middle of a conversation with someone right now. I appreciate you wanting to talk about that, but if you have questions, let's kind of keep it relevant to where we're at. We've showed one of your videos. We'll try to get to your stuff in a little bit. Mike?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Thank you,
I think
Dr.
Raz
Doty.
has something here next. Raz?
Yeah, Rick Doty, you did a lot of research on Bob Lazar back in the day. Have you changed your mind on his story?
Well, I'm not going to. I don't know. Only he can talk about his story, but I know for a fact that he did work at Area 51, Groom Lake. He was on the entry control roster. We have our group, and we're sharing it with other people like George Knapp and other people. We have a control roster showing everybody that worked there from I believe January 1st, 1979 to December 31st, 1990. So in almost a 10-year span, we have a massive, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of pages of people who worked there, and his name is on there. So he did work there.
In what capacity, Rick? Did it show?
It showed that he worked for a laboratory, Los Alamos Laboratory, and I don't have the dates or anything yet, but and that's all it said. He had a security clearance. It showed that he worked in a particular area. That's all I could. That's all we could see from the control roster. Now I've spoken with him. I've had interviews, and I actually believe what he says. I mean, there are some questions about his background, his education, but minus all that, I think he's telling the truth about what he did out there.
When did you get access to the control list?
We got it in I didn't, but some other people got it in 2018. It was shared. I first saw it in 2020, and now what we're doing, the group is trying to verify it before we release it, before we go public and say, here's what we got. We want to verify the authenticity of that. And so far we're going through the Air Force, and we're going through the defense. It's a brand new agency that controls defense security, something agency. It came in effect in 2020 that controls security clearances, and we're going through that, trying to verify it through FOIA.
Well, let me ask you, it's been almost going on 5 years. How long does it usually take to get a verification on a document like that?
Oh, gosh. You're talking about, I think there's 6,300 pages. So, number one, now I'm not sure if you go back to the 1970s, the only printer back in those days that printed out documents such as that were dot matrix printers, the huge printers. Now we have this document, and the first thing we had to do is try to copy it, and we had to find some place to copy it. We did do that, and then we had to do some investigation on our own based on who gave this to us. So it's not an easy task. We can't do it overnight. And there were other people that had it for a couple years before they shared it with some of us who could move it forward. So yeah, it's been 20. When they first got it, 2018, it took probably 5 or 6 months to round up the right people to analyze it. So yeah, it has been taking a while, but the government moves really slowly, and we have to rely on FOIA. And if you ever submitted a FOIA request, it's not overnight. It's some kinds time can take up to a year.
A lot of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But before it's verified by the government, when you had your people going over it, did they confirm its authenticity?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I knew it was authentic because my name was on there. I knew I worked out there twice. So when I saw my name and my employee number and my security clearance and my there's a difference between an employee number and an access code number, meaning a code to get into certain areas. And they were on that. And when I looked and saw that my name and everything verified, I knew then, as far as I was concerned, it was authentic because everything that it stated on there was me. It was me, and then other people that I knew, other OSI agents, and people like that.
So, were you able to see what security clearance Lazar held at the time? What was on the control list?
His security clearance was coded as top secret, but one thing he didn't have, which, again, a question, and there may be an answer to it that I don't have, is that just because you have a top secret clearance doesn't mean you have a special access program,
right.
SAPs,
right.
Or sensitive compartmented information, SCI. And he didn't have a code for that.
Yeah, this is kind of the same stuff that Admiral Wilson ran into when he was trying to dig into supposedly some of this stuff. It's you have the higher clearance. Your clearance is even higher than that. But unless your name is on a special list, you're not going to hear anything. And honestly, just to recap it again, when I asked Lou about the Wilson documents, first person who asked him, his point was that he can usually talk about everything. I can't comment on that. So there's some weight to it. And that's why it's been, if you want to call it, placed into the historical record. Do you think we'll see more documents like that coming forward, Rick?
Oh, I know there are. I know another group that has some extremely sensitive documents, and it would take me a long time, and I don't want to take up your whole show. It'd take me 30 minutes to explain this whole situation. But briefly, a briefcase was found in a locker. Somebody bought. You can go to a government surplus, General Service Administration, government property disposal place, and buy government property. And this person went out and bought these old lockers that were locked. They're still locked, and the reason the government sold them so cheap because they were locked. They couldn't get them open. And so this guy took them home. He lived in San Francisco and around San Francisco area. He took them home. And he put him in his storage shed for almost a year, and then he pulled them out and decided to try to open them. When he opened them, he found a briefcase in there. A briefcase he got open, and it contained extremely sensitive, compartmented documents, about 100 of them. And then, of course, he didn't know what to do with them. He never been in the military, had no connection with the government. He wasn't really sure what to do with them. He thought, well, maybe it was somebody just created these things and made them up. But anyways, he sent them to the right people and found out some information that I'm not even going to talk about on this program, but it dealt with a lot of key people within the UFO community. They were dated back in the late 90s, and they dealt with people that are currently involved in the subject matter.
Yeah.
Well, when you say involved in the subject matter, do you mean directly working for the government or civilians?
No, they were all military or contract. Well, let me say this. Most of them were contractors. Now, again, like I said, it would take a long time for me to explain that. Contractors are contractors through DARPA. And I'm sure most of you know what DARPA is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Rick.
Yeah. A DARPA
Isn't that the Defense Advanced Research Project
Agency? Yes.
Yeah, Project Agency. Yeah, and they've done a lot of high tech different things to go ahead and advance technology, but it's all funded by, of course, the Defense Department.
Right. And DARPA only works for the DoD.
Right.
And all their DARPA doesn't do anything, but they're contract administrators. They issue classified contracts to defense contractors, and then they run with it. But the defense contractors need access to SCI, SAP programs, and classified information.
Right.
And they have to get what they call an Department of Defense Industrial Security clearance to work, and then all their people have to be cleared. So they have classified information. Now, if you were to submit a FOIA request through them, they couldn't give you anything. They would send you back to DARPA, and DARPA would say, no, we don't have it, because no, they don't have it. The contractor has it. That's the way the government hides classified information.
Well, I wish Lee was here and some others, because you know what? We've talked about this before. If you look at all the different types of research projects that DARPA has, we're dealing with a whole bunch of different compartmentalized, different little pieces, take something that they want to figure out, and they split it into so many little pieces that are disconnected. It's just to get the different pieces of their puzzle so they can get the image. But in order to understand potentially what's going on, you have to look at the full breadth and depth of all the programs that they're doing. And it's endless, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, Thomas. It is endless.
Yeah.
Rick, any of these contractors that you're familiar with that were on these documents, are they contractors that we're familiar with, like Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, L. Harris, Motorola, E Systems, Johnson Systems. Those are just names, just some of the few.
Yeah.
And also Los Alamos and Sandia, although they people confuse them as being government entities. They're not. And they're contractors too. Los Alamos National Laboratories, Sandia National Laboratories.
And we have to remember Argonne National Lab, because that's where when our first nuclear reactor we created, University of Chicago, they moved it to. And Argonne has been out there, under the covers, under the radar for a lot of things.
Yes. You got that right.
Yeah. That wasn't so far from where I logged. Yeah, it probably was about 30, 40 miles from where I grew up in the Chicago suburbs as a kid. But I remember going by there several times, and you heard it. That's where they were dealing with a lot of the superconductivity and other research and a bunch of things. And we're also not that far from Fermilab, which was one of our first particle accelerators that was created, and it was the United States who made these innovations back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. But, our country has kind of scoped down on it. Not sure exactly why, but it's interesting to say the least. Continue on, Rick. Sorry.
Well, I think that these incidents that we've experienced in the last 15 or 18 days, they're going to come to a head pretty soon.
Yeah.
There are people within the government, within the military, United States Air Force, that will. Right now, we have 3 whistleblowers, 2 of them within DIA, and 1 was in the United States Air Force. All 3 of them are colonels, full-board colonels, that want to talk about these shoot downs.
Right.
And although they didn't tell us, they haven't told us anything yet.
Yeah.
They just said, we were there. We know what's going on. We want to be whistleblowers, and we've directed them to senators.
Right.
And so they're going to meet next week. In fact, Tuesday and Wednesday in Washington, these 3 colonels, and we'll see what comes out of
right.
that.
And here's the thing, Rick, these 2 objects that are shown that were sighted in Pennsylvania on the 15th, moving in concert with each other, look identical to the objects that were seen in the Canadian Yukon before we supposedly shot them down. Here's the thing. How can they all now be in Pennsylvania and the other's place? And the other part is the way they're configured, they're moving in unison. It's like they're moving in a formation. You wouldn't have that for in balloons, because the image of how it looks here is exactly how it looked up in the Yukon. So we're dealing with things that are not just moving based on the whims of the atmosphere. We're looking at things that are under some kind of intelligence control. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the 2 pilots, the F-22 pilots in Alaska, one of them made a statement, and it was on the Fairbanks television station, that I think it was an ABC affiliate, that it was his opinion, he's a professional Air Force pilot,
right,
that the object was intelligently controlled.
Yeah.
Was being intelligently controlled.
Right. And the only way you're going to have 2 objects that are maintaining a configuration and distance from each other is if these 2 objects are communicating with each other and they know where they're at and they're doing something obvious to go ahead and control. Now, if they're moving through our space, right, but they're not in our atmosphere, they're moving through our atmosphere, potentially through some if you want to call it a gravitational warp field that goes around their craft, they're going to go ahead and follow along the path wherever they want to go. They're not going to be encumbered by any of the forces on this planet, and they're going to move along their path, whatever speed or whatever they want to go. And good luck for our military to go ahead and see it, because, just like the object that we had in over Maelstrom, where we have the nuclear missiles that have been there, the Minuteman, that were basically when Robert Salas was there and the UFOs were checking them out. What if we're dealing with a lower profile, not technology that's, if you want to call it, as much as the big motherships and other things that were going on, but we're seeing stuff lower tech from the non-human intelligence that's there to do the observations that should be. And if we take those out, we could be calling in the larger ships like Robert saw many years ago.
Yeah, good point, Thomas. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many facets to this when you're dealing with objects flying in the sky. That I know that the drones that we have, the very sophisticated drones that we have, the pilots that are on the ground at Creech Air Force Base in Indian Springs, Nevada, they can program in to exactly how these drones fly, every single turn, altitude change, and they can just sit back and watch everything. Now, what if there's some entity within either this dimension or other dimension that's programmed these drones that we're seeing, the ones over Pennsylvania, which I did see, the ones over Alaska and Montana and Minnesota and Wisconsin. How would we detect it? How do we detect the gravitational or the particular frequencies that's being controlled on these crafts? I don't know that we would be sophisticated enough if there are interdimensional or they are not extraterrestrial crafts, if we had the technology that we could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really great point. Do we have that? Well, if we had the technology, right, and we did make these advances to crack that barrier of gravitational manipulation of the field that goes around everything, we could go ahead and create this craft. Do you think we would have so much money and so much effort being put into the F-35 if we had something that was so much more advanced that could take us to that next level, where we're trying to flex our force with technology that just doesn't compete with what's being seen by human eyes?
That's true. There's a person on our group who is a aerospace engineer.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he brings up, which most of us don't even think about this, is it takes us years to develop an aircraft, an advanced aircraft. Let's just say the F-22. The F-22s, it's taken about 18 years to perfect that aircraft. So in that 18 years, they put technology into it. However, now that we're dealing with 18-year technology, we're ancient technology. Unless they upgrade all that technology, we're still going to be behind the curve, so to speak.
Right. Here's a quick question. Something that just comes out of media. We've heard a bunch of times of former U.S. Navy pilot Ryan Graves sharing his experience of seeing unexplained flying objects. If we take the concept of, I lost my F-35. Here we go. If we take the concept of, we've got our craft that's moving through the air, and we're moving along, and we've got a craft that's moving outside of our, if you want to call it, time and space or dimension. So is this thing's moving slowly? These things are moving around, whatever they can do, because they're at a different time. Is there really a risk between our craft and these craft? Because we haven't reportedly had one craft lost due to a collision from any of these objects.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wish I knew the answer. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a technical guy, but yeah, I know. I've listened to Graves, and I've listened to many other pilots talk about something like that. And I think John Alexander brought up a good point about how these crafts avoid our crafts.
Right. Well, we're moving in our time and space, and if something's coming along, it's just like zipping around. And meanwhile, we're barely moving along as they're moving around, whatever's going on. So we could say there's a issue of collision. I think we just keep on flying where we're going to fly, and these things are going to do whatever they do, and we just have to realize it's a game of chicken, because these things will never collide with us. So act like they don't exist, keep on flying, because even who was it again? Ted Rowe, from one of the founders of NARCAP, recently showed some pictures on Twitter where you've got 757, 737s flying, and there's like UAP that are like tailing the aircraft up close to the rear of the craft. And what we're dealing with is a level not just of, hey, these things are moving around. We're truly dealing with surveillance of humanity.
Yes, there's an interesting story about a pilot in the Dutch Air Force. He was flying a F-16 back in the late 80s, and he was trying to intercept an object. He was flying over the ocean, and this object, he was trying to catch up to it. His wingman, the other F-16, was farther behind him and at a different altitude. And when he got to this object, the object turned and came at him. And it came at him so fast that he thought, well, here, it's going to collide with me. We're going to have an mid-air collision. But this pilot, and I talked to him at a UFO convention over in Europe just last year. He said, this thing went right through me. He said it was an object.
Yeah.
But it went through him. Well, like you talked about, the time, space, physics wise, is it possible? Yeah, there's a lot of physicists could say, yeah, that could happen. Or if they're in a slightly different dimension that they can manipulate, we can't, but they can somehow.
Right.
It could go right through this.
Right.
It could go right.
Think of it this way. Think about the concept we have of television waves and radio waves that are broadcast. We have ATSC for, if you want to call it, for television. That's HD signals being sent across it. We have FM, AM bands of all these radios, even your home Wi-Fi and all of that. And the reality is all these different signals, although we can see them, are all, if you want to call it, maintaining within the same space. So if we're seeing something that's coming up and flying around, whatever it is, we may see it in our skies, and it's a visual artifact of what's going on, but in the reality, they're in something else that I could take and it would just pass right through my microphone, like you're talking about it, passing right through one of our fighters, and boom, it just goes right through it. And it goes through it because it can occupy the same space. Granted, visually it's there, but for us, it's on a different frequency, a different vibration that physically it's not there. I think that's what you're kind of saying, right?
Yes. Yeah. Good explanation. Better than I did. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's and there's scientists out there. Even Dr. Putoff can explain it really technically.
Yeah.
You did a good job of it.
Well, yeah, thanks. Well, it's something I've been looking at for a while, and you just have to come up with ways to communicate with everybody so we can all look at this and get there. And it all really comes down to just some simple concepts, and it's taking these out there scientific explanations, just boiling it down so everybody can pick it up. But you know what? That's where we're at now, when we have so many people who are more interested in this subject than I think we have ever had before this at this date. Mike?
It's like an explosion, Thomas. You're right. There's people that are dying for information because the government has been pushing back so hard and the mainstream media doesn't have anything current or up to date, which is why we're grateful for Rick to come on the show and to provide all this information that nobody else is aware of. It really makes an impact on everybody's curiosity. So we appreciate the time that you put in, Rick, to explain all of this to us. I have a question, Rick. Are you familiar with Monsanto, the company?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Have they had any contractual interactions with the government in regards to the UAP subject that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. There's a bunch of research we've gotten that Lee, one of the guys who's on the show, I'll have to go ahead and share across with you, that really ties Monsanto back to operations going back from people who have been, went on to Monsanto before that, to where we were dealing with signals intelligence back at 1930, looking for RF signature over Washington, D.C., which means we've had an awareness of what's been going on with the phenomena going back a really long time. But again, initially being hid within the Army Signal Corps back in the 30s and 40s.
Have you heard anything about that, Rick?
Well, yeah, and in fact, there was a book I read a long time ago about that. The history, I think it's a history of, it didn't have anything to do with UFOs. It had history of the development of radios or something to that effect. I'm trying to look at it over here in my bookcase, but I can't say it right away. Yeah, and it is really interesting. I know if you, some of you know that I teach math online, advanced math. I'm not a physicist or anything. I just teach Algebra 2, theory of probability, things like that through the Defense Continuing Education Program. But there is a book, and I know that contains some historical data on the Army Signal Corps and how they researched signals as far back as into the late 1917s, 18s, 19s, and all the way up through. Yeah, so I know kind of the subject you're talking about, but I don't know anything more advanced than that.
Yeah. Great conversation, to say the least. Andy, you've had your hand up for a while, my friend.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi to Rick and thank him on behalf of all of the European viewers who are in our channel tonight for you joining us.
Wait, really quick to that point. Rick, you've been in this for a long time, and a lot of people don't know exactly your pedigree of everything. I've got you listed down here as Air Force OSI retired. Can you just give me a quick 30-second minute quick blob about tell people how you would say who you are and truly what you represent, because you're an amazing person.
Yeah, sure, Thomas. I'm Richard Doty. I came from a military family. My father was a retired Air Force colonel involved in the U.S. Air Force intelligence. My uncle, Major Edward Doty, famously investigated the Lonnie Zamora incident, Squirrel, 1964. I was in the regular Air Force for 4 years. I got out, went to college, and joined the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, assigned to a DIA unit, and I was a counterintelligence officer at Kirtland Air Force Base. I was also a counterintelligence officer at Area 51, 2 different occasions, and also worked counter-espionage operations in Europe. I retired. After I retired, I worked for the state of New Mexico for a while, and also then I joined Dr. Putoff, the Institute for Advanced Studies at Austin, worked on DARPA programs. I'm fully retired now, and I worked for movie companies, Gaia. I have over 100 episodes on Gaia with Emery Smith and Cosmic Disclosure. And that's basically me in a nutshell.
Yeah, you're an amazing person, to say the least. Thanks for giving that intro. I'm going to grab that and use it, because it just really shows and amplifies who you are. And when you're talking about this, you're talking from a deep breadth and depth of the overall understanding of this cover-up that's been going on for so many freaking years. Back to you, Andy. Sorry.
Yeah. So, my main thing. We've had a question come in from one of the viewers in chat. Huskers asks if Rick, if he has any relevant knowledge about the Vandenberg ICBM warhead test that was filmed with a high frame take telescopic camera and was shot down by a craft. Any information on that, please, Rick?
Yes. It's still classified. The actual incident was classified, investigated, and classified. There was a launch of a Vandenberg Air Force Base of a Minuteman missile, and it got to the optimum perigee, or the highest point, before it was, and it had been followed by an object. I think 5 or 7 minutes into launch, so there was an object real close to it, and this object fired a beam, which struck the warhead area of the missile and brought it down, and it was filmed. I think there were 3 different cameras. Only one of them has been released, but I think there's some others, and that's what I know.
Yeah. What would I tell you if 15, 20, about maybe 20 feet from this spot right now, sitting out in my garage, hanging out with my former brother-in-law, I heard this would have been in January 2015, No, it was before that, 2004. January of 2005, I heard about what took place on the Nimitz, where they had the interaction between the Tic Tacs and what was going on. My former brother-in-law at the time was on one of the E-2 Hawkeyes and talked about when they were up and flying around, all of a sudden as the plane was flying through the air, they had a Tic Tac, he called it a short cigar, appear on the left side of his ship, and all of a sudden there was communication between the people in the crew. AJ sat in the back of the E-2, and they said that it was on, the left side of the ship, and as it was there, their instrumentation and all the intelligence gathering equipment that they had on the craft started to act out of, if you want to call it, scope of how it should be having. And all of a sudden, it was then on the right side of the Hawkeye, instantaneous. It was like one spot, and then it was over there. And the disturbances continued on our intelligence equipment, because remember, the E-2 Hawkeye has that big dish that's sitting above it, and then poof, it was gone. And as soon as it left and it was gone away from the craft, the crew received a call back to come back and land. So whatever happened and what they were visualizing on the craft from the Nimitz group at that time when it was happening, they were seeing it on the ground enough to call the people back after it happened. Now, after that craft came down, I was told there was stuff that took place where there were people who came in, if you want to call it, the plane was coming in, they were told to basically assume this one position where they put their hands behind their neck and they looked down, and people in black gear came on and pulled all the hard drives with all the data from the craft that were then taken. Coming out of that, everyone on that craft was required to go ahead and sign a document that basically reaffirmed that if any discussion of this conversation took place, that they were subject to, I think, a $10,000 or $20,000 fine, imprisonment, and they would lose their retirement. So we've had these threats and everything going on for the longest time, to where people who are involved with this, if it happened, nobody can talk about it.
So, Rick, what group would do something like that in regards to recovering all those tapes? Would it be OSI from the Air Force?
I mean, would it be AFOSI?
Probably an Office of Naval Intelligence, the Counterintelligence Division, or DIA investigators. One of those agencies. I know that there's another story out there about the Nimitz, that the alert aircrafts, the F-14s that were on alert, they weren't armed. They didn't have any air intercept missiles on them. And Kevin Day, I asked Kevin Day about that, and he didn't really know. But this guy in Salt Lake City, I don't know if you know about him. He's went public a number of times and talked about the incident. He was on the ship. He was I can't remember exactly what his duties were. He was an officer. He was a naval officer on the ship. And he said that the day before this incident happened, the commander of the captain, commander of the Nimitz, was told to take the aircrafts off ready alert and take all weapons off them. So when those aircrafts were launched after the Tic Tacs, they didn't have any weapons to shoot them down. So I don't, that's the story I heard. I don't know how much of it's factual.
But that makes sense, though, Rick, because if you look at it from a situation where we're telling them to go up, leave your missiles down, it's showing we're out there in a non-hostile manner, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wes Stecker, you've had your hand up for a while, my friend.
West won't be able to speak for a little bit. He's having problems with his doggy.
Oh, sorry about that. I apologize about that. Interesting conversation coming in from Jackie Redford in the chat saying, can Rick tell us anything about Project Serpo? Is it real, fake, or something in between?
Well, first of all, I wasn't around back in those days, and I was just a young kid. But there are, I think, what I've learned over the years, there are factual there's factual information about Serpo, and then there's some that's not factual.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of stories going around, whether there were 3 people that went, whether there were 12 people that went, astronauts that went. If any of this stuff is true, there's people out there that have done a lot of research. And I'd have to say that some of the story is factual. And that's, I mean, and we don't have time here to discuss everything else about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I understand. Some things are there, some things are not. Really quick, I want to thank Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott, for this wonderful super chat. Dave, call in, my friend. I can send you the link on Google Chat. On Facebook if you want to. But honestly, he wants to know, is there an update on Rick Doty's power stash? I saw you for like a second when you first came in. You still have it, right?
A power stash?
Your mustache.
Oh, no.
Mustache.
No, I don't. I'm trying to get my, let me see if I can hit this and nothing happens. So
Just, if you press your camera.
No, I don't have a, I did. And it gives me something to do with my computer on it.
Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it.
Internally turned off, and I go ahead. I'll try to work on it, and I'll try to. No, I don't have the
mustache anymore.
Okay,
yeah, Dave has always got questions about hair and everything else.
There we go.
There you go. It worked. There you go. That is the real Rick Doty with your glasses and everything. Thanks to you for being around and showing your face. Oh my God, it's been great. You've said so many things. You've been so involved with this. You're a person who's got such a pedigree of information. It's great to be able to share all this with you. Holy cow.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh God, yeah. Matt, your hand's been up. Is it about this? If not, we can pick you up later on.
Welcome back to the show, Matt. He was on yesterday, if you remember, about Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and we can cover Pennsylvania later on. If it's about Pennsylvania, we just got Rick right on here for an interview right now.
No, I understand. It's not about Pennsylvania.
I just basically had a question, going back to when you were talking about the cameras on all the different fighter jets that were actually engaged in these objects. Is there any type of heat signatures that they were displacing on the screens? And I'm sure that they have some sort of heat signature sensing capabilities on these cameras. And I'm just interested to see what they were giving off.
Rick, I think they had it on the F-16s. Don't they have FLIR available for imaging on those? And that would be a reason why that would be better than F-18s for getting up there, or the F-35s? Yeah,
FLIR is a forward-looking infrared system. It's called a FLIR Dino, which is the most advanced system of the FLIR. And I think all aircrafts have them now. And they do give off a heat signature, and a conventional crafts would do it. If we were chasing a Russian MiG or something like that, yeah. Now I don't know about these drones. I haven't heard anything specific about whether they were giving off anything. Right. Or not.
Now, one thing really quick, you bring up an interesting point about the Russians and the FLIR and everything that to a degree. We've got, they say that what we're looking at for NORAD and potentially is only watching out for missiles from Russia. Yet every single time we have fighters and bombers coming from Russia, the United States always meets them in international airspace to basically say, you don't belong here. You're not coming into our frickin' territory. They're basically invading, if you want to call it, forces. We'll come out there and we stop them and we follow along within international space to protect the sovereignty of our airspace.
Right. That's exactly. We have what we call a safe air defense corridor. We recognize, or internationally we recognize, 12 miles off our coastline, and then we have an additional 24 miles of the air defense safety zone. So anything gets inside that, we'll chase them. We'll launch aircrafts from a base, air defense aircrafts, to monitor and watch the Bear bombers or the Russian aircrafts or the Chinese PCR aircrafts. And 99 times out of 100, these aircrafts just turn around and fly away, the foreign aircrafts. And we won't engage them until they violate our 12-mile.
So for us to say we only look at ICBMs and things coming in, we do see other fast-moving craft and everything. It's just whatever we have within the signature space to keep anything that's outside of conventional aircraft, we can say safely that's probably filtered from the people who are actually observing, on the consoles and everything, keeping an eye on what's in the skies. So I guess it's a matter of just maybe if we have the overall filtered spectrum and they're showing this, you think they'll open up the whole piece or just open up a couple more chunks?
I think right now we've opened up everything. And what I just found out just a couple days ago, on Wednesday, is that normally United States Air Force has 44 aircrafts on alert throughout the United States. And this was boosted up from 12 we had during 9/11.
Yeah.
So we have 44 aircrafts at various bases, and most of them Air National Guard. They're on alert. Well, right now, we have 166. The Air Force admits that right now. They have now 166 planes on what they call ready alert. Ready alert is 5-minute alert. That means from the time they get the alert, that pilot has to be in that plane, the cockpit, and take off within a 5-minute period.
Yeah, interesting to say the least. Coming in from Mitch in the chat, there's been talk about Spielberg being connected to, if you want to call it, people within the government when he did ET and going back to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Do you think that sounds like something that happened? Because if you looked at Close Encounters, even Lewis said, this is like, I didn't watch it, but when I watched it, it's just like, holy cow, they're like on target for what they showed.
Yeah, I spoke with while I was doing on the set of a movie, I spoke with not Steven Spielberg, but with one of his co-producers, and he admits to that actually happened. Yes.
Yeah. I guess we've got that going on, and it just needs to take and continue. My God, it's a great conversation. Raz, you've had your hand up for a while, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Rick Doty. Did you feed Linda Moulton Howe some disinformation or misinformation back in the day?
Okay, I didn't get the first part of that. Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah. Did you feed Linda Moulton Howe some disinformation or misinformation back in the day?
Did I see it?
No, did you pass it on? Did you go ahead?
Oh, did I pass it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Well, let me tell you how that happened. Linda Howe involved herself into something. She relied on a source of hers to provide her with classified information. And she was coming to Albuquerque to interview another person, and we kind of intercepted that. And I invited her to come to the OSI office at Kirtland, and I was going to, and all this information came down from headquarters. Okay. I'm given a job to do. Okay. This is what you're going to do. You're going to make contact with this reporter from a television station out of Denver, and you're going to show her these documents, and then you're going to try to recruit her as a source for U.S. intelligence. And that was my job. And so, and I invited her in. Everything was filmed, a two-way mirror. Of course, she recognized that almost immediately. She's a pretty sharp woman. And I showed her the document that I was told to show her. Okay. And so I don't know if that document was disinformation or whether, I know some of it, at least half of it was factual, and maybe all of it was, but I wasn't told that. I was just showed her, I did my job. I showed her the document, and then I had a long-term contact with her after that.
Rick, what was some of the information in the document you shared with her? Do you remember?
It pertained to the history, the U.S. government's historical or chronological order of contacts with extraterrestrial.
Right. So information that was there prepared by people in a different group from everything. Your job was to take X document, meet a person at a location, and transfer that document. So if anything, you were just the person taking the work, bringing it, and disclosing it as part of your program that you were involved in. It was your job.
Exactly, it was my job.
Yeah. Raz?
Yeah. Lastly, she's on about these three races all the time on her stream for about 20 years, 30 years. The tall whites, Nordics, and tall greys, are they working with our military? Or is she just going on with this story because she doesn't have anything better to say on a stream?
Rick
I
answered that
don't know.
question
I
earlier.
can't. I can't really answer what Linda Howe did or what she's doing. I don't know about. I know there's one race that's dealing with us, and I know there's 5 races, and I don't know if you can see. And you can't see this, but there's 5 races of extraterrestrials that I knew about back in my days. Just 5 of them.
Right.
And then and I talked about this on Guy. I've talked about this on other programs. Now I understand the government has 7 that they're dealing with or have access or have had some kind of contact with. But I don't know any more than the 5. Now Linda's talks about 3. Those 3 are on this list. I don't know where she's getting her information from. So, you'd have to talk with her about that.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Yuri Geller has talked about in the past. He knew Werner von Braun, who is the genius behind a lot of our, if you want to call it advancements with rocketry, that he was taken down to a building within, I believe it was Goddard Space Center, taken multiple stories below ground and shown multiple races of beings kept on ice at that point. So we know we've got at least 1, if not you're talking about 5. Which 5 are they, Rick?
Okay, the first one is the grays or the evens. We know about those.
Right.
The second one's the archeloids. They're various heights, but usually between 5'9" and 5'8". Normally wear grayish jumpsuits or 2-piece silver suits. Black slanted eyes, oval heads, 4 fingers, protruded ears and nose. These aliens are distinguished by their arms having double elbows, their feet and have double joints. They come from a planet in the Epsilon Eridani star system. The next one is the quataloids. These are genetically engineered aliens coming in 2 types, insect or humanoid types. The insect look like praying mantises. They come from a star group in Sirius star system. The next one is the hepaloids. These entities are often confused with the grays because they are the same height, between 4 and 5 foot, light gray skin tone, large black eyes, double opening eyelids. They have no noses. The head appears proportionally larger than their body. The hands have 4 fingers and 4 toes. Their home planet comes from the Tau Ceti star system. And finally, the other one, the last one is Trontoloids. They're 5 to 6 foot tall. They're blondes. They're confused, or they're some people call them Nordics. They're very slender built. Eyes have invisible double openings. They come from Andromeda star system. The females in that group look exactly like humans, whereas the males don't.
Interesting.
So then I'm reading off this. It says, defense. It's all backwards, but that's exactly.
No, it's not back. It's backwards there. It isn't for us.
Okay. Oh, it's okay. So
Defense
that's
Intelligence Agency identification of extraterrestrial races.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did you get that? And when did you get it, Rick?
I got this. Now, this was classified, but it's not classified anymore. I got this through a FOIA request. Now, the FOIA, when it came out, there's a lot of things that is blacked out. This is I retyped this and there's actually 2 pages. Everything that you see here was not redacted. And there were about, I think, I'll show you the other one. Well, I don't have it right handy, but there's probably, I think, 30 some lines and one particular paragraph that were redacted. And some of this I filled in on my own because I knew what they were.
Gotcha.
Now this is the 1980s. Now I understand there's 2 more races that they've added to the list, but I don't know anything about those 2 races.
Are any of those identified as being from dimensional beings versus from specific star systems?
No, they're not.
Right.
These are just conventional. Now, I know there's probably a lot more that I don't know about since I've been out. I know that when I worked for DARPA, I knew I had access to some information, but I can't talk about that now.
Right. An interesting situation, to say the least. My goodness, the breadth and depth of the information you have is just amazing. Let's see who.
May
Andy,
I ask
your
a
hand is up.
question? Oh.
Go ahead, take it. Who does?
Andy has his hand up.
Oh, Andy, take it.
Yeah, it's another question, please, Rick, from our chat, from one of our longtime viewers and co in the studio with us on occasions, Joseph Siracusa. He's asking, have you been called to testify before Congress?
Yeah, I asked Rick that question earlier in the show, and he said he's already been testifying.
There we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 times. Yeah, I have. Yes.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of me, because I demand like merchandise. Skinny Bob, real or not? I love me some Skinny Bob. If you tell me he's not real, I'm going to cry like a kid
No,
finding
Skinny
out about
Bob is
Santa.
absolutely 100% real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have him in my basement.
Yeah. One of the things I saw in Skinny Bob and everything, I saw when the neck was being turned. And I saw all the muscles and all the small tissue. I've got a bunch of neck issues, so I keep an eye on. I know what muscles are there and everything. And just the muscles that were there to support the size of the skull and everything. For me, when I saw that detail, it's like, it pushed me beyond the, is it fake, is it not, kind of a standpoint.
Yeah. Can I ask Andy a question?
Take it.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Andy,
certainly, Rick.
Are you in the UK?
I'm in the UK. Yes, I am. Yes.
I was in the UK last year, 3 different times. I was in Blackpool. Then I was in Manchester for the Mini Awakening, and then I did a 31 programs filmed there in Manchester.
Okay.
And I'm going back there, and I'm going back to Manchester in Glaston in this summer.
Okay, Glastonbury.
I'm sorry, yeah, Glastonbury.
Oh wow! You'll have to let us know, because I'm actually in Bristol, so I'm not that far from Glastonbury.
Oh yeah, you're just north of there. Yeah, I think I fly in. Yeah. I think I fly into Bristol.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
I'll give you a wave when you fly over.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, Rick, this is actually the show that we do. We actually started a lot earlier than usual, and it's targeted towards people who are in the United Kingdom and in Europe for that main reason. Right. It's a chance where I'm not working my regular job, which I do 5 days a week, whatever it takes, and I finish off my job, get some stuff done, figure out what's going on for the night to go ahead and get the show together and march through it. So it's just kind of one of those situations. I'm glad you were able to come on, and it's great to hear you've been there so many times. United Kingdom is a great country, and the people there are wonderful.
Oh yes,
Adele, absolutely. Mark, and Florence said they saw you in Blackpool, and it was a fantastic show.
Yeah, it was. We really did. We really had a great turnout. It was a really super program, presentation by all the speakers.
Yeah, what show was? Which conference was this, Rick?
It was the Awakening at Blackpool. It occurred in June of last year. A 5-day event. I did an entire presentation on the Paul Benowitz.
Yeah.
With information that I've never disclosed before.
I'll come back with it.
Anything specific about anything you haven't disclosed before that we haven't heard already, other than what you've told us so far?
There's just information that has been declassified by National Security Agency about their investigations and what they did. They've never admitted until 2015 that they investigated Paul Benowitz. And in 2015, somebody submitted a FOIA request and got the information that, yes, indeed, the National Security Agency, their Special Investigations Division, they called it, conducted a parallel investigation with OSI. So they were investigating when we were, and we didn't know they were doing it. That's the thing that, and I disclosed all the background about that.
Yeah.
Was there any type of backlash as a result of both operations occurring at the same time?
Yeah, we finally got the secretary. I mean, the Secretary of Defense to tell him to shut everything that they had down, and to shut up about it. So they had to cancel their investigation because we already had one.
Didn't you run into, when you were doing the stakeout of Paul Benowitz, didn't you have the police come and ask while you were in that apartment, the vacant apartment, while it was being conducted?
No, we were across the street at Paul Benowitz's house, and Paul had a camera set up, and I looked out the window and I saw a light, a red light, in a house across the street from Paul's. And I asked Paul, I said, "Who lives in the house over there?" And Paul says, "It's vacant." I said, "It's vacant?" I said, "No, look, it looks like somebody has a camera pointing over towards your house." So myself and the other agent that was there with me, and we're federal officers. We had guns. We carry guns. So we went across the street to confront whoever was over there. And we had called our contacts with Albuquerque Police Department, and they sent 2 officers out there. And as we got there, the 2 men were coming down the steps into a car, getting into a car. And APD, the Albuquerque Police, confronted them. And these 2 guys had to identify themselves. And they were, in fact, NSA employees. They showed us National Security Agency credentials. So then I knew they were spying on Paul, too. And that's how it started.
Yeah, you handled it perfectly, Rick. I like that.
Talking about spying, would you be surprised if you heard that there were different black ops operations going on for the surveillance and bugging of people's houses who were involved from this program from a government standpoint, to where there were drones trying to look in, there were things going on, there were people who were actually breaking into residences to go ahead and place bugs to go ahead and shut down disclosure?
No, I wouldn't, because I was doing that.
Yeah. Supposedly this was still going on as of last year, and it's a sad situation, but it's just to show that these kind of operations are still going on, and some of the stuff that they're doing, whether they call it a matter of national security, as I always bring up during the talking about stuff, is we're in this national security state of America, not necessarily the United States of America.
Yeah, you're right. The government can do virtually what they want to do with a warrant. They can do things without a warrant, surreptitiously under certain extreme circumstances. If it's an exigent circumstance, they can go in and do what they want. And there's 2 different types of warrants. People don't realize it. There's a criminal investigative warrant, meaning they have say, for instance, an espionage investigation going against you. So they have to go through warrant as a judge. They have to go through all different parameters or different things to get the warrant to investigate you. If it's a counterintelligence operation where you're never going to be charged with a crime, they can do virtually everything. They can plant a bug in your house with a what they call a telephonic warrant or a telephonic approval from an entity outside the government, outside the judicial system. So, for instance, if you live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the FBI or the assistant U.S. attorney or the U.S. attorney for New Mexico could grant you approval to do something like that. But it's changed from the time I was in to now. well, they still have to go through FISA, their foreign surveillance court, which it doesn't take much to get an approval for a listening device, pen register, or some other tap. And so, but you have to be a target. I mean, there has to be legitimate reasons. They just don't go out and pick on somebody that just likes UFOs. There has to be a particular.
No, I'm talking
reason.
about people who might be in like the UAPTF, maybe the Space Force, etc., who may be connected to certain people out there who have been, on the hit list for a while of someone who they want to take down and shut down the disclosure dialogue. You can guess who that could be.
Yes. Yeah. I can't say any much more about that.
Yeah, neither can I.
You.
Absolutely. My God, it's been a great conversation. Holy cow, a bunch of people have been hanging out. This is probably one of our biggest Saturday shows. I really appreciate you dropping in, Rick. And have you had a good time in the conversation?
Yes, absolutely. It's been great. I enjoy doing these shows. I thank you for having me. You're a great commentator. I like your, I drop in all the time on your program. I might not be in there very long because sometimes I have a class I have to teach on Saturday night, but,
nice.
or one night the nights that you're on, but I do drop in and listen to the conversation.
Yeah, I've seen you pop up in the chat here and there and everything we've always talked about jumping on. I'm grateful you were able just to follow the link and just pop in. Yeah, I use Google Meet because, well, it's cheap and it kind of works, and it's something that anybody can jump into, whether it's with the icon or with your video, which is great.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. Any final questions from the guys in the back? One thing I want to bring up, there was a super chat that came in from one of the guys we usually have in the back, W. Decker. His dog had popped up with a seizure. He had to jump off. He just wanted to say he's sorry he had to jump off, take care of his dog. He wanted to thanks for Rick for joining us and being so willing to answer so many questions from us and people in the audience. And we hope you come back again.
Well, anytime I'm invited, if I'm not doing something else, I'm not working on a movie or something. I'd be more than happy.
Absolutely.
To come on. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation. It's like hanging out with a friend, just casual. Let's talk about some stuff and see where we can take it. Because disclosure is just jumped off the freaking I would say jump off the radar, but the stats of what's going on, the interest of it has just grown exponentially, and I'm blessed to be a part of it and have someone here with the knowledge that you have. You were saying Matt has his hands up for another quick one of the last questions. Yes, Matt.
I just wanted to say I appreciate everything that you've done for us, and it was a pleasure listening to you and learning a lot about you. Like I said, I'm new to the channel. I just came into it yesterday.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely amazing to get to know you and hear all your experiences. That's awesome. Thank you.
Quick thing about
thank
Matt.
you, Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Matt is actually from Ohio. He's about a mile and a half from where the train wreck happened.
15 miles.
15 miles. He's relatively close on the map of where the stuff happened that was going on with the recent train derailment and the cover-up that's been happening on that we've been covering on Disclosure tonight as well.
Well, I have relatives in Ohio. They live in Zanesville. I know that's
not too far.
Away. Yeah, so my cousins live there.
Yeah, it's a scary fact to say the least. Andy, you got your hand up, my friend?
Yeah. I'm just going to throw in one very, very quick question for Rick, please, before we close out. It's from another one of our chat members, Matthew Bullock. Have you ever worked with Nick Pope?
No, I never worked with Nick Pope. I know him, but I've never worked with him.
The problem is you didn't invite him to the opening of an envelope, otherwise he would have been there.
Thanks for that,
Rick. Gotta have some fun with it. Mike, anything from you, my friend?
Absolutely.
You got
Rick,
one.
Listen, yeah, I know, I get it. But listen, Rick, actually, as you, I'm sure, well aware of, especially if you watch the show, there is no relevant or new information that's anywhere on the horizon in regards to this subject. And unfortunately, since Lou Elizondo dropped off the scene, we haven't had any updates in regards to anything important. that's going on that will affect all of us. And you're a part of living history in regards to this subject. So your participation is extremely valuable. It's entertaining. It's greatly appreciated. And it's something that I would like it to be more than just one and done. So if you have Thomas's contact information, I don't know if you do. Do you have his email? You have his number?
Yeah, I do.
You have Rick's?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. Then we would like to arrange to have you come back on a regular basis when you have time available to continue the conversation.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. My group, there's about, on a good day, we have about 50 members of our group that's pushing for disclosure.
Yeah.
And that's working with the congressional staff. I can give you updates whenever I get updates from them. I'd be more than happy to, come in for, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something and give you a briefing on that. Yeah.
That'd be wonderful. I mean, and that's the thing. It doesn't need to be like we're hanging out for hours. A lot of times when there's interviews that are going on for the media, you come in and say your bit, you go on because everybody has a life besides the long conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd be more than happy to just let Thomas know when I have something, or Dave, and then you can get me in whenever you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be more than happy to do that.
My door is always open anytime, any day when anything goes on. If there's something to talk about, whatever it is, just think that you've got the floor.
Okay, Thomas.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butt out here because my wife has dinner ready.
Yeah, I've got dinner ready too. I've got Thai food that showed up as well. What do you have tonight, Rick?
Take care.
Rick,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was nice meeting you, Rick.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy, Mike, Matt, everybody else. You guys are great. I really appreciate your attention to what I had to say, and we'll make it again. We'll make this again. Make it happen again.
Absolutely.
I certainly hope so. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What an interesting
I want to
conversation with
apologize
Rick
to Daryl
Doty. Holy
because
cow.
I couldn't
Unexpected.
get
I'm
his
glad
sig-
he showed up, came into the conversation, was able to share so many things with a lot of our viewers who may have not have heard Rick Doty in the past.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Did you hear what he said about big oil is subcontracted on the UAP subject with the government? I didn't know that.
Who is?
Big Oil, petroleum company.
I did not realize that. Well, here's
Neither
the
did
thing. It makes sense because why? They have platforms for observation all over the world. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, that would be the reason. It's that thing that Andy's been bringing up, that I've been bringing up, I've known about for the longest time, how I did scripts about it because I saw where the different, at least six different undersea bases in the deep trenches around the world, they go there for a reason. It's safe. Matt, you have your hand up, my friend? Matt,
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit too, because we actually there's a company that my friend's dad started with small engines, 50cc motorcycles, and the Navy and stuff are kind of tied in with big oil because on the Baltic Sea, there's these big tankers that carry a large portion of the oil's reserve. And my buddy's dad was building drones that would actually fly around in manned by these tankers for defense observation purposes. And it's pretty cool to see all the things that he has done, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Interesting to say the least. Thanks for sharing that kind of insight. It's been a great show so far. Holy cow. Anything to wrap up from you, Andy?
Absolutely brilliant. Sorry, I was just about to reply to somebody in chat. Yeah,
Thanks for
brilliant.
bringing up questions from people in the chat. My God, you're the voice of the chat and representatives. I try to do that a lot of times. I don't always do it just because you're trying to be a part of the conversation, listening in. So you can't necessarily look at the chat and, well, you can, but I haven't had an Adderall in a week or two. So.
Well, I think we've had some really great questions come in for Rick.
Yeah, they
tonight
have.
From the floor. I know a couple of people we missed and everything. I apologize if I missed you, but
Yeah.
I'm sure I got two.
Joseph
screens open there.
Syracuse came in for a bit. He didn't get his chance. Mike was having a deep a one-on-one conversation, and sometimes you just need to raise. And again, I've got the studio set up in a different way, so I'm actually a little bit farther back from where everything is. I'm actually at the desk here. I can actually sit here and actually talk to you and lean in. And, it's more like that traditional news studio kind of a thing. I'm still trying to get, if you want to call it, used to it. But, I'm liking the feel for where it's at.
Yeah, it's looking good. And I think as well, Rick coming in, he's popped in, as he said, in chat, but actually for people to pose questions, he's a very interesting person. Very famous in our field.
Yes.
And it's just great for people to be able to, if not have a face-to-face with him, like we've been fortunate to tonight, actually to pass questions of theirs along to him.
As long as you're not going in and showing those goofy videos of huge guys, a bunch of Lou Jimenez's riding freaking motorcycles.
Yeah, we got rid of them, or you got rid of them anyway.
Oh,
so
I know. And I apologize to everybody for not doing that. They actually had a couple different things. They were coming in as different names, and usually I like to leave it open, but then again, it's not like we've got them coming into a back room. Don't have a producer who's going in, checking the people and vetting them before we're coming in. So it's kind of welcome to live production, but you know what? It works. Because you know what? So many of our news briefs in the past when we've been reporting breaking news isn't coming from us. It's coming from our viewers as this stuff is going on. They're either popping in the chat, raising their hand and saying, hey, check out this link, or they're coming on to talk about it, like Matt has. Matt?
Yeah, I'm here.
No, you had your hand up still. Was it still up, or did I forget to put it down?
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to. Sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry about that, my friend. Absolutely. Razmataz, your hand's been up for a while, my friend. Can actually do that now. Earth to Raz. I see you blinking. Your microphone is off. That's all right.
Well done.
There you go.
Jeremy Corbell video, if you couldn't, maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. We're kind of getting towards the end. We've been going, God, for what? Almost 4 hours?
Yeah.
But it's been a great show, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Happy Saturday. That's my Saturday shot. Slept in till noon. Got myself up. Got ready. Had a migraine. Took meds. Came in here just dealing with the stuff from the effects from it. Got the show up and going and ran with it. And now Cupcake, who wants me to go ahead and lay down here with a recliner, is sitting on her dog bed with my feet, sitting on everything with my feet, kind of laying next to her to keep her kind of nice and with company. So it's been a long day, to say the least. But I appreciate you and everybody coming out to this show today. But as I usually do at the end of the shows, and I want to go ahead and if I go ahead and take a look at all the super chats that came in today. Holy cow, I need to go back to a different list to make sure I didn't miss anybody here. Let's jump into that. I want to thank, first of all, where are we at? Holy cow, we got some great super chats that have come in today from a lot of people. It's amazing on the love and support we've been getting for everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. It's about what we try to bring together, and every dollar that comes into the show goes back into the production. You thank everybody so much. Holy cow, let me go ahead and get this music kicked up one more time. Let me make sure it's loud enough. I know it's loud enough for me, but there we go. It's kind of there. Let's kick it up a little bit more. I want to thank Daryl Zernick, W. Decker, a Spaced Out Radio. Let me get to the long list because this one ain't gonna work. Ben Phillips, Eli McGinnis, Kira IAM, Russell A. Liley, Dennis Benke, Alex Park, Nikki X1, Steven. Love you too, man. Dark Claymore. Call Me Bob, hopefully that's Skinny Bob, Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy, Wreakin' Havoc 215, Jacques Landry, Greg O'Brien, holy cow, Joseph Syracusa, Mr. Catfish 2100, Firefly, Greg O'Brien again, W. Decker, Joseph Syracusa, join the conversation again when the show's over. It'd be great to catch up with you. W. Decker, Sean Edge, Greg O'Brien, Dark Claymore, Daryl Zernick, holy cow, Rick Doty again, UFO Wars. Actually, no, Rick Doty, Florence Tracy, even Rick Doty threw money in. Holy cow. Florence Tracy, Royal Morning Blue. That's where it shows where it's at. We had someone who came on the show, was here for hours, threw in a super chat to the show. My God, I am just so blessed by everyone's love and appreciation for the show. Wreaking Havoc 215 again. Matthew Bullock, Firefly, Mr. Catfish 2100, Wreaking Havoc again. Shelly Montgomery, Firefly again. Just Phil, Royal Morning Blue, Alex Park, and Alex actually start up. If you want to get Alex's interview, if he's still here, he'll be on the back left side of the studio. And more importantly, I want to thank everybody who is still in the chat. I know you're here somewhere. I will find that window, and I want to thank everybody who's still hanging out right now. Let's see if I can find that window to thank everybody. I need to get to Chrome. I need to get to find that window again. Where is it at? There it is. I can go ahead and bring it up. And another super chat coming in from Mr. Live Long and Prosper, Daryl Zernick. Thank you very much, sir. As for the people who are still in the chat right now, I am going to call you out. So if you're in there right now, I will get you. So A.O. Ack, our producer in the back, Adela Mark Bromley, Amiga Rules, Angela G, Anita K, Avi M, Ben Phillips, Buddy and Spiffy. Looking forward to seeing that picture of Buddy who looks like Cupcake. Believe it or not, my old Cocker Spaniel's name was Buddy. And he's still with me right over there. Wait a minute, you changed your icon. Let's throw in a super pop up in the chat again. I want to see the dog if I can. Holy cow. I'll find it in a second. Let's go ahead and see who else is there. Charles Biddix, Craig Williams, Danny Flinker, Daryl Zernick, Digger Dog. Bring it on out, my friend. DJ M Pro, Electra RC, also known as Zach, Eli McGinnis, Freya and Hella Black, Gray Troll, Henry Williams, Jackie Radford. And these are just the people who are in the chat, and that's where it's at, the conversation between everybody. If you haven't subscribed and joined in the chat, that is where the conversation really rolls. Jason Brown, John Dillinger, Joseph Syracuse, Just Phil, Kelly Burrow, Living Room Speakers. I've got 7 of them, actually 7.1 of them. Miami, or Mammy. I always get you wrong, Mammy. Sorry about that. Mammy. Matthew Bullock, Metal Gaming, Mike T, let's see, Mitch Siranowski, Mr. Catfish 2100, Owen from Ohio, Peggy with Crockett and Tubbs, Rashid, yes, Rashid, Razmataz, Royal Morning Blue, Salem Meb, Simply Coca, Super Sleed. I guess my shirt is not buttoned at the bottom and it's showing. Let's fix that. There you go. Super Salid, Syrup has been in the back as well. The Observer, Thor Pankow, Tina Loreno, Tony D, Xavier Gamer, and Yellow Tommy Tanker, who's on the screen right now, is also known as Andy. And let's see if I can find a picture of the 2 dogs. Oh, he's gone. We'll go ahead. Buddy and Spiffy, there we go. I'm going to bring that up. Where is OBS? Let me take this and make it larger like I usually do. Oh, there we go. I love it. Love the tie. Love the glasses. And yes, it does kind of look like Cupcake just a bit. Remember, brush their teeth.
That doggy has an important meeting to go to.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely love it. And our fur babies are part of our life and everything. As we usually say, it's not just about that. Wait a second. Holy cow. We got people in the back who've been there and part of the show. Holy cow. Andy W. Andy, also known as Yellow Tommy Tanker. Thanks for being around. Crypto Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Matt. Thank you for coming in tonight, Matt. Great having you around. Ralph G. There you are, Matt. Good to see you. You're on. Wait, I took away the pictures. Nobody can see it. I was trying to move it where I could see stuff. Let me get it where it goes. No, Ralph. No. Move this out of the way. It has to go like this. There we go, Ralph. Matt, are you still there?
Yeah, we're here.
All right, you're there. Thanks for coming in, Matt. Remember to hang around after the show for the conversation. Wes Decker, are you around, my friend?
I am. I just got back, so thank you for an awesome show, and can't wait to see what comes next.
I know. I can't wait to see what happens next on the 4th episode of Picard after the show ends. Ralph G., thanks for coming out tonight, my friend.
Thank you. Like I said, this is the best show on YouTube.
Yes, thank you very much, my friend. And last but not least, the controller of the microphone at different times, Mr. Crypto Mike.
Oh my God, this was an unexpected, amazing show with someone who's a part of the living history
Yes.
this discussion. Amazing. It's
Yes.
absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, and I'm afraid to look at how many subscriptions we currently got on Disclosure tonight. Let me jump back in the studio and see the magic number and see where we're at. Holy cow! I think we are at 5,634. Holy cow! We are on our way to 6,000 subs. Remember, if you had a good time, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't, give us a thumbs down. But if you're going to give us a thumbs down, at least go ahead and put the comments. We had 9 thumbs down from yesterday's broadcast. No negative comments, nothing. So if you're going to do that, please let us know what we can do to improve our job. We try to do our best here on Disclosure tonight. We're live as many nights of the week as my body and immune system can handle. But we love to hear everybody and what's going on and being the voice of citizen disclosure, because we're all tired of the bullshit. We know what's been going on, and it's been going on for way too long. If I can find the logo.
And Thomas, real quick, don't forget, you've got Gary.
Oh, Gary, quite contrary. How does your garden grow?
Somebody notices I'm here. Hello.
Well, you can speak up at any time. You've got the VIP line that nobody else has.
Kinda did. More than once.
Yes, that is true.
The chat can back me up on this.
Oh, I know that, but it's an important thing to say. And you're the one who actually brought us the Party City sound effect that we end our show with every time, didn't you?
I do.
Absolutely, and usually you know where that goes, don't you? Oh my God, we didn't even play the videos about what's going on. There's a huge we've had multiple X-class
we've got
events happening that are traveling towards the Earth. I've got the videos. They're queued right here. I never got to them.
We got double CMEs heading our way.
Oh, and you know what happens? One hits the other. You know what? Let's I know I've got it. I know I said we're gonna be done, but we've got one more thing. A breaking news event that I should have brought out earlier. Yes, there's an X-class solar flare, so let's just jump across really quick before the day is over. I know a majority of people have already, a bunch of people have left. Let's go ahead and cover this piece because this is breaking news that we should have had going up earlier today. Let me turn off that news sound effect. Let's jump across to the Jumbotron and see where we're at. It's desktop. There we go. Let's bring this out from our media partner over at Suspicious Observers. Let me go ahead and take this chat down and say this. Thanks for reminding me, W. Decker. Let's listen to this.
Hey, no problem.
Wait, am I in Chrome?
Good evening, observers. An X-class solar flare has erupted at the northern incoming sunspot group. Unlike all previous X-class events so far this sunspot cycle, this was a long-duration event. You can see this here in the flare view of 131 angstroms and the spike reaching X2.2 on the right side of the X-ray flux chart. The flare itself did last a few hours, and the ionization of the upper atmosphere and resulting radio blackout hit.
Oh, look at that. It hit the United States right head on. Let's go back a couple seconds and look at that a little bit more. There we go.
A few hours, and the ionization of the upper atmosphere and resulting radio blackout hit the entire west coast of the Americas and included Hawaii. The flare itself did not produce a dense filament-like CME, but it did produce enough of a plasma push to expel material from the corona. Here in 193 angstrom view, we can see the event and even some of the coronal rippling. We'll follow by zooming in and speeding up the frames to show the shock wave rippling through the solar atmosphere. This is a key signature of a wide burst CME associated with the strong solar flare. And while SOHO cameras and Enlil spirals are not yet updated, the stereo A coronagraph is, and it's on repeat here. The material visible going out in all directions is an indication that the CME is going to impact the Earth. Best initial estimate would be Sunday evening or Monday morning. Should produce geomagnetic storm activity. But recall, we already have one CME from 2 days ago due tomorrow, and there is a coronal hole stream expected Sunday or Monday as well. So we have several impacts on their way to Earth at the moment. Most likely geomagnetic and KP effects will peak somewhere between level 1 to 3, KP 5 to 7, with about a 25% chance of level 4, KP 8 storm conditions. Eyes open, folks. That sunspot is turning in to face us over the weekend as well. I will see you in the morning with full SOHO and Enlil updates. Be safe, everyone.
Yes. And as he used to say,
lock your door.
Well, he'll see us tomorrow, so it can't be that dire.
oh,
So
I
we're
know,
all right
I know.
till
Let's
tomorrow.
jump back into the studio. That was a good thing. We had to bring it in for the end of the night. Holy cow. But let me get back to the music we were just at a second ago. Yes, as we usually say at the end, which it was inspired, of course, by Dr. Ben Davidson from Suspicious Observers. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.
Go back to Party
Lucky
City
doors.
where you belong.
Absolutely. And remember, Party City's go out of business, so you better go there before they're gone, Gary.
Go back to Spirit Halloween where you belong. Lock your doors.
Lock your doors. Go home and lock your doors. Good night, everybody. We love you. We'll see you soon. Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.